Muxue's fingers still had the cold metal touch of the laboratory. The homemade particle accelerator was buzzing, and the blue arc was scurrying like a wild snake. She rubbed her temples, thinking that this simulation was finally going to be successful, merging the quantum field and high-voltage electromagnetism. Maybe she could crack the strange crystal stone obtained from the black market. But the next moment, a green gap opened on the surface of the crystal, and a pungent burnt smell filled the air. Along with a low roar, the entire space twisted into a whirlpool. Damn it! She cursed Luo Li and tried to retreat, but was sucked in by an invisible force. His vision was spinning, his whole body was like falling into an ice cave, and the wind was roaring in his ears, mixed with the roar of unknown beasts. When she opened her eyes again, it was already a dense jungle, with sunlight shining through the leaves of the towering ancient trees, mottled like gold. The air was hot and humid and unfamiliar, filled with the rich smell of soil and wild flowers. The gurgling stream could be heard in the distance, but mixed with a faint roar. Muxue struggled to get up and checked her body. It was intact, but the surrounding environment was definitely not the earth. The tree trunks were covered with glowing vines, and a faint blue mist floated in the air. Her heart sank. This was time travel? A scene from a novel? Just as she was about to laugh at her imaginative thinking, the bushes in front of her suddenly exploded, and 3 demonic wolves as big as bulls sprang out. Their scarlet eyes locked onto her, green poisonous saliva dripped from their mouths, corroding the ground with a hissing sound. She caught a glimpse of a thorn bush at her feet, the vines covered with spikes. With an idea, he grabbed a handful of dirt and threw it into the eyes of the first demon wolf. It roared in pain and retreated. She took advantage of the situation and rolled towards the thorn bush, tore off the vines and wrapped them around the blade, making a temporary whip blade. The whip was thrown out, and the thorny vines wrapped around the forelimbs of the second demon wolf like a living snake. Green juice splashed out, the demon wolf struggled and roared, and the ground was corroded by the poisonous blood, creating holes. Muxue gritted her teeth, used her strength to jump up, kicked the tree trunk and was ejected, the blade piercing the third head's throat. Blood spurted out, and the fishy heat splashed all over her face. Damn it, seriously. Muxue took a step back, and the experimental blade at her waist became her only weapon. The demonic wolf pounced, its first head opening its bloody mouth, and the fishy wind hit its face. She dodged sideways and slipped on a broken branch. Mud splashed all over her body, and her heart beat like a drum. The other 2 were surrounding her from the left and right, and the hissing sound of their claws slicing through the air sent shivers down her spine. Despair surged into her mind, and her mind was spinning rapidly. She couldn't fight hard, the environment was the key. The last demonic wolf with red eyes was furious and pounced. Before she could catch her breath, she caught a glimpse of the broken branches above her head and the blue mist in the air. That was a flammable magical element. She picked up rocks and smashed the branches. The branches and leaves fell like rain, and the blue mist gathered into a fireball. She ignited the remaining arc of the blade and threw it towards the demon wolf. The branches and leaves burst into flames, and the blue mist fueled it into a sea of fire, engulfing the demon wolf. The howling shook the forest, and the smell of burnt meat filled the air. It twisted a few times, and finally turned into ashes. Muxue collapsed on the ground, panting heavily, her hands trembling. But there was a hint of excitement in my heart. This is not a dream, this is an opportunity. She wiped the blood off her face and followed the faint noise. Deep in the jungle, there are many traps, camouflaged vine nets on the ground and hidden poison arrow pits. She relied on engineering intuition to observe the vein patterns of leaves to avoid net traps, and used stones to explore the path to crack the arrow formation. Every step she took was like walking on thin ice, and her clothes were soaked with sweat. Finally, the trees ahead were sparse, and a vast plain came into view. The giant arena in the center rises from the ground, surrounded by a magical barrier and shimmering with golden light. There are many tents and crowds around it. The air is filled with the clang of hammers, the heat of roaring fires, and the sweet aroma of melting spiritual ore. Tens of thousands of spectators crowded the stands. Craftsmen from all ethnic groups were wearing gorgeous robes and holding magic hammers. Weapons were displayed on the stage. A dwarf craftsman swung a hammer, and a battle axe was formed. The axe blade was infused with fire elements, and red flames erupted, twisting the air. The audience cheered thunderously, but some passers-by whispered, "Not bad, but compared to the champion 10 years ago, it is still a little less spiritual." Muxue squinted and observed, the structure of the axe body was rough, the heat conduction was uneven, and the magic injection relied on brute force rather than precise control. She was shocked. The craftsmanship of this other world was so backward. This place is a treasure trove of engineering knowledge from past lives. She blended into the crowd, her clothes as tattered as a beggar's, attracting side glances. A strong man scoffed, "Where did you come from, wild girl? Get away, this is the 10-year forging conference of the Kingdom of Eland. The winner is the god craftsman, who leads the lifeline of trade between humans and elves, and you can get the spiritual mineral crystals for you." Muxue said nothing, and her eyes were fixed on the main stage. The human noble Lu Ting stood proudly, hammering down his long sword with thunder, and the audience screamed, "Young Master Lu is worthy of the noble blood, and the magic weapon is made by nature." She thought to herself, "I can do better by blending modern metallurgy and magic." Just as he was about to come forward to register, a commotion broke out at the venue. Beside the arena, an elf girl was trapped by an invisible trap. Invisible vines were wrapped around her like iron chains, the spikes pierced her skin, and her silver hair was dyed red with blood. She struggled and screamed, her bow and arrow fell, and the green light around her dimmed. It was Luo Li, the agile elf archer. The crowd exclaimed and backed away, "It's an elf scout. The trap is a legacy of a monster, even a master can't break it." A craftsman tried to cast a spell, but was bounced away by the backlash vines and fell to the ground bruised and bruised. Lu Ting sneered, "The elves don't have eyes, so what does it have to do with me?" The audience whispered, "It's over, those vines absorb magic power, no one can save it." Muxue's heart tightened, and she saw that the veins of the vine were like circuits, with the weak point at the root. She rushed forward, and the crowd shouted in an uproar, "Crazy girl! Looking for death!" Luo Li raised her head in despair, death grey flashing in her silver eyes. Muxue ignored the ridicule, picked up the Luo Li bow and arrow, and observed the vines. The veins gathered at the base, and the remaining blue mist was flammable. She shouted, "Don't move." With flying fingers, she removed the bowstring and wrapped it around the arrow, injected temporary fire, and fished out the remaining crystal powder from the ashes of the demon wolf. The arrow shot out, accurately hitting the weak point of the root. The crystal powder exploded when encountering the blue mist, and the vines hissed and broke, like a fire snake collapsing. Luo Li escaped from the trap and stumbled to the ground, her silver hair disheveled and her chest heaving violently. The surrounding craftsmen's eyes widened, and an old man trembled. This archery. No, it's the fusion of crystal powder, which accurately burns out the devil's veins. I've never seen it before." The audience gasped, and someone murmured, "A beggar girl, you broke through an elf-level trap?" Lu Ting's face turned livid, and he clenched his fists. "How dare you show off your little tricks?" Luo Li gasped and stood still, her green eyes staring at Muxue, her voice trembling with awe. "Human girl, you saved me. Luo Li owes you my life." She knelt down and saluted, the The elf's radiance surged around her, attracting more sideways glances. Muxue helped her up and smiled lightly. It's a small matter. Tell me, how do you participate in this competition? Luo Li nodded in surprise, and was about to answer when the bell on the main stage rang, and a white-haired elder stood up in the air with a voice like thunder. Master Craftsman. The Island Forging Conference has officially opened. 3-round competition system. Qualifying round, integrating basic spiritual minerals to create a practical dagger, subject to the Warcraft trial. Elimination round, assembling mid-level magic weapons to fight against powerful phantom enemies. Final, extreme weapon refining, creating an artifact that governs trade. The rules are strict. If you fail in one step, the elimination will be ruthless. The whole place was silent, the faces of the craftsmen were pale, and someone whispered, Warcraft trial? A dagger must kill an armored wolf? The elder glanced at Muxue. Applicants, come on stage immediately. The qualifying competition begins now. Muxue's heart trembled, and the craftsmen around her laughed at her. That beggar girl wants to try too? It's so funny. Luo Li squeezed her hand tightly and trembled. You really want to do it? Lu Ting smiled sinisterly. Get off, so as not to be embarrassed. Muxue stepped onto the steps, her rags illuminated by the fire, and the fighting spirit ignited in her eyes. Can she use modern technology to integrate this backward magic and reverse it in front of everyone? The armored wolf of the qualifying round is already roaring and hunting in the barrier. Muxue stepped firmly into the registration area at the edge of the arena. The heat wave from the fire hit her face like a tide, mixed with the sweet aroma of the molten spirit mineral, twisting the air into a hazy curtain of fire. The surrounding craftsmen cast disdainful glances, and a bearded dwarf craftsman spat and shouted harshly, Go away, beggar. The qualifications require certification from the Adventurers Guild, and those without a license can't even touch the fire. The crowd burst into laughter, and the sound came like a wave. Someone pointed at her tattered clothes and taunted, Look at that mud face, did you just climb out of the demon wolf's dung pile? Do you still want to touch the spiritual mine? Luo Li followed closely behind, her silver hair shining like moonlight in the firelight. A trace of anger flashed in her green eyes. She clenched her bowstring and whispered, Muxue, they don't understand your ability, I will accompany you to the guild. Muxue glanced at her, raised the corner of his mouth slightly, ignored the uproar around him, grabbed Luo Li's arm, and walked through the crowd. The stone slabs under my feet were burning hot, and the ridicule in my ears was as dense as needle pricks. Elves hanging out with beggars? Crazy girl in the forest. The Adventurers Guild is embedded in the wing of the arena. A huge iron door is open, the magic emblem on the lintel flashes blue, and the air is filled with the smell of ink and aged leather. The hall was buzzing with people. A one-eyed old man behind the counter looked at Muxue with squinted eyes and said hoarsely, Registration? Name, race, level. No proof? A temporary craftsman license requires 1,000 copper coins or proof of combat prowess. The adventurers around stopped and whispered, This girl? You can't even cut down an armored wolf, and you still want to be a craftsman? Muxue's heart sank. How could an engineer in his previous life understand these bureaucrats? But she had quick eyesight and quick hands, and she pulled out the homemade whip blade from her waist. The demon wolf was stained with blood, and the vine thorns buzzed when she swung it. The shadow of the whip cut through the air and screamed sharply. The one-eyed old man's pupils shrank suddenly, he took half a step back, and the registration pen in his hand clattered to the ground. This demonic wolf vine blade? The rumor of 3 people being hunted in the forest just now, was it you? The hall was silent for a moment, and the adventurer's eyes widened. Some people trembled and murmured, "Impossible. That is an iron claw-level monster, and even bronze adventurers have to form a team." Luo Li took a step forward, green light gushed out from her fingertips, and poured into the register. "She saved me. Elf Scout Luo Li is my guarantee. Temporary craftsman, make me your fighting partner." The old man's throat rolled, beads of sweat rolled down his forehead, and he quickly stamped, "Batch. Muxue, temporary E-level craftsman, partner Luo Li, qualifying competition, you have the right to go to the furnace." When the sign was handed over, his hands were shaking slightly, and the adventurers around him burst out shouting, "Beggars counterattack? Now we have something good to watch." She grabbed a piece of basic spiritual ore and threw it into the furnace. She picked up the remaining crystal powder from the ashes of the demon wolf and sprinkled it in. The flames suddenly burst into wild flames of green and blue, and a sweet crackling sound erupted in the air. The craftsman looked sideways, and a tall and thin young man sneered, "What a wild girl! The impurities in the spiritual ore are taboo, and you will destroy the furnace at your own risk." Muxue said nothing, holding the blade to cut the ore into thin slices with precision, simulating the molecular structure in his mind, nickel-chromium alloy reinforced, crystal powder used as a catalyst. She shouted in a low voice, "Luo Li, lend me the bowstring." Luo Li handed it over, and the string wire wrapped around the mineral pieces like a living thing, forming a temporary mold. Holding the bronze medal tightly, Muxue pulled Luo Li straight to the blacksmith shop in the backyard of the guild. The fire is blazing, the hammers are clanging, and the spiritual minerals are piled up like mountains, emitting a faint blue light. Several low-level craftsmen were practicing around the furnace, their sweat turning into mist. Their daggers were roughly shaped, and sparks flew unevenly when the magic was injected. Muxue squinted her eyes to observe, and her mind flashed like lightning. These veins of spiritual minerals are like circuit diagrams, and the blue mist is the controllable magic flow. Past life knowledge comes flooding back, metallurgical alloy formulas, high-pressure smelting, electromagnetic circuit control, this is a plug-in. The fire roared, and she injected blue mist, and her fingers danced, carving out circuit patterns, not brute force, but precise diversion. The molten fluid flows smoothly like liquid electricity, converging into the prototype of a dagger. The blade buzzes and vibrates, and a silver-blue halo appears on the edge. The faces of the craftsmen turned pale, and the young man's legs went weak, and he stammered, how can the smelting be so stable?" The blue mist didn't bite back. Muxue pulled out the dagger, and the blade was as light as a feather, but he swung it across the anvil. The surface of the anvil cracked like tofu, the fracture was as smooth as a mirror, and the magic light was restrained. In the commotion, an old figure walked out of the shadows, with white hair shawl and holding an amethyst staff. It was the senior master Shen Mo. He stared at the dagger with squinted eyes for a long time, his beard and hair trembling slightly, and his voice was like the wind passing through an ancient bell. "Little girl, this circuit is breathing like a living vein. A visitor from another world?" Muxue was startled, but he didn't wait for a response. He pointed out the tip of the staff and injected a golden inscription into the dagger. Basic secret skill, inscription locking demons. Fusion of your magic, I will be invincible in the future. The inscription is like a dragon coiling around, and the dagger bursts into bright golden blue light. The knees of the craftsmen in the shop weakened, and they exclaimed in unison, "Master Shen Mo personally taught it? This girl is going to fly into the sky." All the craftsmen in the shop gasped, and an old craftsman rubbed his eyes and trembled. "Magic circuit smelting technique? The hardness of the dagger is 30% higher than that of iron ore, and the magic power transmission is zero loss. I have never seen it before. You are a genius." The crowd came, and some people knelt down to worship. Magical skill. Miss Beggar, accept a disciple. Luo Li's green eyes sparkled, she clenched her fist and shouted, Muxue, you have subverted the backward forging. Luo Li pulled Muxue to the corner, her silver hair brushing her face, and whispered, the forest barrier is not a natural chasm, but a passage between two worlds. It is protected by monsters, but your vine-breaking skills may be able to open up a new path. Trade spiritual mineral crystals, make endless profits, and humans and elves join forces, and they can achieve dominance. Muxue's eyes flashed with ambition, and she clenched her dagger. Okay, let's start from the conference. The bell rang again, and the first round of qualifying kicked off. In the center of the arena, 10 trial furnaces were lined up side by side. The armored wolf roared inside the barrier, its carapace was like cast iron, the reflection was dazzling, and poisonous mist filled the air between its minions. The elder's voice shocked everyone. The first round of battle. Temporary craftsman Muxue vs low-level craftsman Baelk. Forge the dagger in a limited time and enter the barrier to kill the wolf. The loser will be eliminated. Bork entered the barrier first, and the armored wolf pounced. He stabbed out with his dagger, only sparks were drawn, and the wolf claws swept back. He retreated with a groan, leaving only shallow marks on his carapace. The audience sighed, low level, eliminated. It was Muxue's turn, she stepped into the barrier, the wolf's roar was deafening, and the fishy wind hit her nostrils. The wolf pounced, she dodged sideways, and the dagger pierced the seams of her armor like electricity. The circuit channeled the magic, a whirlpool of blue flames erupted in the blade, and the carapace cracked into pieces. The wolf howled miserably and retreated. She took advantage of the situation to spin around and struck the second blow directly into the throat. The inscription locked the demon, and the magic power exploded like a chain. The wolf's head exploded, blood mist spurted out, and the smell of burnt meat filled the entire place. Bork came on stage, as strong as a bear, hammered down the spiritual ore and smelted it roughly. The dagger was dim and dull, and the magic barely adhered to it. He looked at Muxue with a ferocious smile. Savage, go back to the woods and gnaw bones. The audience roared with laughter. Luo Li bit her lip and held her bow. Muxue, come on. Muxue entered the furnace calmly, crystal powder was sprinkled in, blue mist gathered, her fingers flew, carved circuits, and poured in Shen Mo inscriptions. The molten liquid poured out like the Milky Way, and the dagger was instantly transformed into a slender blade with twinkling veins, light but murderous. The barrier was opened, and Muxue walked out with the blood dagger, the blade's light still shining brightly. Bork sat down, staring and murmuring, how is it possible to break armor with one blow? This dagger, a magic weapon. The audience screamed, and the craftsmen in the stand stood up, their faces as pale as paper. Someone tremblingly pointed, modern alloy? No, it's a magic circuit. She won, easily. The elder nodded, Muxue, advance. The whole place was boiling. Luo Li rushed to hug her, her green eyes flashing with tears. You're so strong, you made their world collapse. Shen Mo nodded from a distance and smiled. But at this moment, a flash of lightning flashed from the main stage, and Lu Ting stood proudly, wearing a gorgeous robe and a thunder sword buzzing. His gaze was like a knife, sweeping over Muxue, and his sneer was like thunder. How dare an unknown savage interfere with the conference? It's just a little trick in the qualifying round. I will go out in person in the next round of eliminations. Duel you beggar, and crush your delusions. The surrounding nobles echoed with evil laughter, and the audience gasped, Master Lu is angry. The wild girl is finished. Kyle jumped onto the trial furnace. His muscles were as knotted as iron ropes and his face was full of flesh. He grabbed the spirit ore and smashed it into the furnace roughly. The sound of the hammer was like a war drum. The wrist guard was thick and dark, with only defensive runes roughly engraved on the surface. The blue mist barely penetrated, but the edges were covered with cracks. The surrounding craftsmen nodded in approval, and a bearded dwarf roared, "Kyle's iron wall braces can bear the wolf's claws without any damage. Beggar girl, get ready to cry." A wave of ridicule broke out in the audience, and someone threw rotten fruit and smashed it at Muxue's feet. The juice splashed with a sour smell. "Savages, get out. I can't even forge the braces, so the qualifying round is stopped." Muxue wiped away the blood on the dagger, with war flames blazing in her eyes, and Luo Li's bowstring tightened. The phantom enemy of the knockout round has vaguely taken shape in the barrier, and the first battle for trade hegemony has truly begun. The bells of the arena roared like thunder, causing stones to fall from the stands. The air was filled with the smell of burnt blood left by the armored wolves, mixed with the sweet heat of the fire, making people's throats tighten. The elder raised his scepter high, and his voice was as harsh as cracked silk. Second round of the qualifying round. Muxue, facing off against the rookie of the Blacksmith Alliance, Kyle. Mission: forge wrist guards, enter the barrier to block the 3 attacks of the armored wolf. The crusher is eliminated. The molten liquid swam around like a living snake and gathered into a wrist guard. It was as thin as a leaf, with silver-blue mesh patterns appearing on the surface and buzzing and pulsating inside. Kyle smiled ferociously. "A gadget? Sweep the wolf claws and turn it into iron foam." Muxue buckled on the wrist guard and stepped into the barrier. The armored wolf roared and pounced, its claws tearing apart like iron hooks, and a fishy wind hit its nostrils. She raised her wrist to block it. Ka! Sparks exploded from the claw attack, the blue mist vortex surged back, the veins of the wrist guard lit up, the magic power was withdrawn like an electric whip, the wolf claws shattered, and blood beads sprayed. The wolf roared and pounced again. For the second and third blows, Muxue remained motionless. The wrist guard would counterattack every time he blocked it. The blue ring spread, and the wolf's body was charred and twitching. It fell to the ground with a howl, and its carapace was covered with arc scorch marks. Luo Li's green eyes were spitting fire, her bowstring was buzzing, and she whispered, "Muxue, their wrist guards are like rusty iron sheets, your circuit will shut them up." Muxue ignored the uproar, grabbed the magic wolf crystal powder and threw it into the fire. Green and blue flames shot up 3 feet, and the heat wave distorted the air, making a crackling and scorching sound. Her fingers were like electricity, cutting spiritual minerals into wires, and the welding process in her previous life flashed in her mind, tungsten wire filling, arc high-temperature fusion. Luo Li borrowed string wire and wound the mineral wire into a mesh mold. Muxue injected blue mist to carve out the Venus circuit, not a death talisman, but a dynamic diversion ring. The barrier was opened. Muxue's wrist guard was flawless. Kyle stared back. His work on the wrist guard had been scratched by the wolf's claws. He hit his knees on the ground, his voice trembled like a candle in the wind. "Reverse, counterattack circuit? The wrist guard fights the wolf by itself? Impossible. This is not forging, it is a miracle." The faces of the craftsmen in the stands were ashen, and an old woman craftsman rubbed her eyes and screamed, "The veins are alive. The magic power circulates by itself, and the hardness is twice that of psychic iron. How did she do it?" The crowd exploded, and the dwarf's beard shook off the ashes and murmured, "A beggar, no, it's a witch." The elder waved his scepter, Muxue. In the third round, the family craftsman Ron, under the command of Mr. Lu Ting, The mission: to forge chain armor to prevent wolves from siege. Ron came on stage, his noble robes flashed with gold edges. He sneered, and throughout the family's spiritual mine, the furnace fire was blazing with purple flames. The chain armor was formed layer by layer, the runes flickered, and the surface was like dragon scales. He glanced at Muxue. "Master Lu, crush you. My dragon scale armor is indestructible." The aristocratic section of the audience echoed with a grin. Ron is the third generation of the Lu family. The wild girl is doomed. Luo Li gritted her teeth. "Muxue, be careful of dirty tricks." The molten liquid poured out, and the thunder chain armor took shape, interlocking, as light as a wind robe, with faint thunder patterns on the surface, and the tentacles trembled slightly. Ron sneered. "A thin chain?" The wolves chewed it up in one bite. Muxue put it on and entered the barrier. The 5 armored wolves pounced wildly, their claws and fangs descending, and their roar shook the sky. She spun to dodge, the armor chain hummed and unfolded automatically, the thunder blue halo exploded, the first wolf claw shattered at the touch, the chain link was withdrawn like a whip, the arc penetrated the wolf's belly, and the flesh and blood exploded. The wolves besieged, the armor chains danced into a web, the counterattack was like a thunderstorm, the sound of cracking armor was endless, the wolves howled and rolled miserably, the smell of burnt meat filled the air, and the ground was stained with blood pits. Muxue's eyes were like blades, integrating Shen Mo inscriptions and modern welding. She grabbed a large amount of magic wolf crystal powder, and the fire exploded into a sea of green and blue fire. The air twisted into a vortex, and the burnt sweetness was pungent. She cut the spiritual minerals into chain links and simulated high-voltage chain alloys in her mind. Nickel chromium corrosion resistant, crystal powder catalyzed electromagnetic lock. Luo Li, borrow all the bowstrings. The strings are like densely woven molds of living vines. Muxue dances with her hands, injects blue mist, and carves thunder veins. The inscription locks the demon, and the outer layer automatically counterattacks the chain. Ron's dragon scale armor couldn't hold up the 2 wolves, and the scales fell apart. He groaned and vomited blood and knelt down. The chain armor attacks itself? Thunder backlash, infinite magic recycling? Even the Lu family's secret method can't compare. The whole audience was dead silent, and the nobles in the stands had expressions on their faces. Turning pale, a fat merchant trembled. "This armor can challenge a pack of wolves. The trade value is off the charts. Who will marry this girl?" The craftsman knelt down, and the old craftsman trembled. "Master Shen Mo's inscriptions, fusion magic, she is the chosen one." Shen Mo's figure flashed like a ghost, white hair flying, and with a wave of the amethyst staff, golden light enveloped Muxue. "Little girl, a genius from another world, I accept you as my disciple. High-level magic crystal infusion method, teach me." The tip of the staff pointed the armor, the amethyst shattered and injected, the thunder chain armor erupted into a sea of golden and blue thunder, the chain links hummed like dragons, crystal nuclei appeared on the armor body, and magic power surged like a tide. Shen Mo laughed tremblingly, the crystal core pulses, infinitely amplified. "Your circuit, the perfect carrier." The craftsmen smashed their knees on the ground and shouted in unison. Master and apprentice join forces, a myth is born. The audience screamed, and a gold-robed duke in the kingdom's noble seat narrowed his eyes. "This girl, a new star in trade? Send someone to contact her." Just as the cheers broke out, 3 black-robed assassins sprang out from the shadows, their daggers flickering with poisonous light, heading straight for Muxue's heart. The poisonous mist hisses, the fishy wind bites the bones. Luo Li's green eyes exploded with green light, and the bowstring was like thunder. She fired 3 arrows at full length, with green flames at the tail of the arrows. The assassin exploded in the air, blood mist sprayed, and the severed limbs fell to the ground. She landed on the ground and roared, "Lu family secret guard. The conspiracy is exposed." The assassin leader vomited blood before dying. Lu Ting ordered, to get rid of the beggars. The whole place was in an uproar, and the elders shouted angrily, "Lu family? Investigate!" At the climax of the qualifying round, the elder announced, "The final preliminaries. Muxue openly challenges Lu Ting's prepared work. Forge the musket on the spot and smash it to pieces." Lu Ting took the stage with thunder and lightning. He threw out the thunder crystal mineral and sneered, "Savage, you dare to challenge? My thunder blaster will blast you to pieces." The fire roared, he was smelted roughly, the gun body was thick and long, thunder symbols flashed wildly, blue mist leaked violently, and cracks loomed on the edges. The audience gasped, "Master Lu forged it himself, the beggar is finished." Muxue smiled lightly, grabbed all the crystal powder, and turned it into a galactic vortex. The gunpowder formula plus circuit in her mind from the previous life, black powder simulation, the crystal powder deflagrated and advanced, and the barrel circuit detonated. The ore is cut into a chamber, the string mold is used to press the tube, and the blue mist is carved into the explosion pattern, the Shen Mo crystal core is injected, and the magic crystal is used as the warhead. The molten liquid converged like an electric current and exploded into a gun. The gun body was slender, the mouth of the gun was coiled with thunder patterns, the handle trembled slightly, blue flames surged inside, and the air was twisted. The two faced each other side by side. Lu Ting grinned and pulled the trigger. "Die!" The thunder blaster roared, the thunder ball shot out like a dragon, and the air tore and exploded. Muxue turned sideways and raised his musket. Kang! The blue flame vortex erupted, and the magic crystal bullets struck like meteors, colliding with the thunderballs, and exploded into a sea of fire. The shock wave overturned the trial platform, and stone fragments rained down. In the aftermath, Muxue fired again, and the explosive bullet penetrated Lu Ting's gun body. Click! The thunder blaster exploded into pieces, the thunder talisman collapsed, and Lu Ting flew back. The corners of his robe were scorched black, and he fell to the ground and coughed up blood. The whole place was shocked, the stands collapsed, and the audience stared like dead fish. The noble Duke Luo Li said, "One shot shattered the magic weapon?" Exploding magic crystal advanced, the world collapsed. The craftsmen prostrated, and the dwarfs cried, "Musket revolution!" Fairy Muxue, kneel down. Luo Li burst into tears and hugged, "You shattered Lu arrogant." Shen Mo banged his stick on the ground and laughed, "Disciple, you are unprecedented." Lu Ting stood up, his face twisted like a ghost, and his thunder sword buzzed. "Qualifying round, you won. But the rules of the knockout round have been upgraded, and the weapons will be tested in actual combat. I will personally destroy your reputation and let the whole audience see you kneel down and beg for mercy." The reverberation of the thunder in the arena has not yet dissipated, and the dust of broken stones is filled like mist. The scorched thunder and blood in the air are intertwined to create a pungent sultry heat. Breathing sounds can be heard in the audience. The silk robes of the nobles are soaked with sweat and sticky against their bodies. The elder's scepter hit the ground heavily, and the amethyst head erupted with golden light. The sound was like a mountain avalanche. The qualifying round is over. Muxue has won all, and the E-class beggar counterattacks the champion. The knockout round begins, the actual durability test. Each round of weapons battles against the monster group, and those with durability and collapse are eliminated. In the first round, the Back Mountain Mine Trial, the fire crystal essence is mined and put into the furnace to forge the durable magic weapon. Only for one day, those without crystals will be eliminated directly. The whole audience was in an uproar. and the dwarf craftsman in the stand stared at Xingzi and said, "The mine in the back mountain? The demon spider king's lair, where no one has mined crystals for hundreds of years. This beggar girl can't even get through the mine door, so she is eliminated first." The aristocratic area burst into laughter, and a bejeweled fat woman screamed, "Master Lu, crush her." Her musket was just a fluke, the mine spider's poison sprayed, and it turned into rotten bones. Lu Ting, the host of the stage, smiled sinisterly, and the corners of his robes were burnt. Hei Wei was not extinguished. He whispered to his men, "Watch her, grab all the oars. Let her kneel down with her bare hands." Luo Li held Muxue's arm tightly, her green eyes flashing with worry. "Muxue, there are many cracks in the barrier at the back of the mountain. The demon spider king's claws are like sickles, and poisonous threads melt iron. Let's join forces with our bows and blades?" Muxue's eyes flashed with domineering flames, and she wiped away the ashes of the musket. "Let's go, fire crystal essence. What I want is not victory, but revolution." The setting sun is like a blood-stained mountain behind, and the majestic stone steps outside the arena wind into the forest. The fog is as cold as ghost breath, mixed with the rotten smell of sulfur, and the moss is slippery underfoot, making a crunching sound. Muxue was wearing thunder chain armor, the whip blade dagger was buzzing, and the green light of Luo Li's bowstring was looming. The two sneaked into the entrance of the mine. The phosphorescent bacteria on the cave wall flashed blue, and the sound of dripping water echoed like a heartbeat. In the depths, there are dense cobwebs, sticky silver threads tugging at the clothes, and the air is poisonous and foggy, pungent like acid corroding rust. Suddenly, the earth shook and the mountains shook, 8 red eyes lit up, the demon spider king appeared. The body is like a hill, the carapace is red and black and shiny, and the 8-clawed sickle hook drips venom. His roar shook the roof of the cave like gravel like rain. "Human, elf, crystal marrow, mine." The claws of the Spider King swept in like a storm, poisonous silk sprayed into the net to seal the hole, and the fishy mist burned the skin. Luo Li dodged and shot an arrow. The tail of the green flame arrow grazed the armor, leaving only scorch marks. She gasped and backed away, too hard. The claw speed is supersonic. Muxue gritted her teeth and flashed her brain on modern tactics, thermal imaging of weak points, thermal core in the abdomen. She swung out the whip blade, the blue mist circuit pulsated, the blade thread whipped the spider's leg like an electric whip, shattering a claw, and green blood sprayed on the ground and smoked. But the Spider King was furious, and the poisonous claws went straight to the heart. Muxue rolled, and the chain armor automatically counterattacked. The thunder ring exploded with arcs. The spider body twitched but did not fall. The silk wrapped around her wrists and pulled, she staggered, the armor chain creaked and bent, and she saw the poisonous fangs coming. Luo Li screamed, "Muxue!" There was a buzzing sound like a broken bowstring. She pounced to use her strength, and the green light arrow penetrated the spider's eye, and pus burst out. Muxue seized the gap, exploded the musket and pulled the trigger, Kang. The magic crystal bullet shoots into the abdomen like a blue star, blasting the thermonuclear core with precision, Ka. The Spider King's abdominal shell exploded, the fire crystal essence spurted out like lava, the heat wave burned his face, and the red light reflected the cave wall like purgatory. The Spider King hissed and rolled, his 8 claws fluttering and smashing against the wall. The roof of the cave collapsed and rocks fell. Muxue Luo Li teamed up to dodge, and stabbed wildly with the whip blade and green arrows. Finally, the spider's body became limp, its carapace cracked into charred black fragments, and its essence crystal core rolled down. It pulsed warmly like a heart, exuding a sweet and greasy fragrance. Muxue wiped her gun, her eyes filled with domineering flames. The prelude to the trade empire suddenly opened amidst the reverberation of thunder. Beside the trial furnace, Muxue sprinkled fire crystals into the furnace to optimize the smelting, the spraying process in the previous life plus nano coating. The fire in the furnace turned into a whirlpool of red gold, the heat wave hit the face like a dragon's breath, and the sweet fire smell was mixed with the iron juice and the aroma was burnt. She cut the fengling mineral into thin slices and sprayed it with lightning slurry. The crystal powder catalyzed the vapor deposition, creating layers of wind patterns. Luo Li, borrow all the bow strings. The green silk mesh mold, Muxue's hands are like illusions, blue mist is injected into the dynamic wind ring, and the fire crystal essence is fused into the core, the wind shadow wristband is formed. It is as light as a feather, with silver-green mesh patterns floating around. When you hold it, the wind whistles by your ears, and the air twists into a vortex. Luo Li clasped her wrist to test, her eyes flashed with green light, her figure flashed with 3 afterimages, the bowstring was fully drawn, and the arrow ripped through the air as fast as a wind blade, double the agility. The wind assists the trajectory and shoots through the barrier. The craftsman stared back, and a dwarf shook off his beard. Wristbands generate wind? Elf blood affinity is 10 times greater, an artifact. Muxue Dan. Laughing, your arrows are invincible from now on. Shen Mo's ghost flashed, with white hair flying, and an amethyst staff pointed at his wrist guard. Disciple, the inscription formation is passed on to you. The 9 palaces locking spirit array strengthens the magic affinity. The staff light was injected, the wrist guard floated a 9-point star formation, the gold edge of the wind ring pulsated, the magic was absorbed like a tide, and hummed like a dragon's roar. The surrounding craftsmen knelt on their knees and trembled. The master personally taught the formation? Her weapon is a super magic weapon. The bell rang for the first round of the knockout round, the arena tripled in size, a wave of monsters rose from the barrier, the audience was packed with people, and the heat wave in the air was bloody. The mid-level opponent came on stage, Ballon, a strong man from the Blacksmith Alliance, with muscles as strong as rock. He swung out a heavy hammer battle axe, the axe blade was thick with runes flashing, and shouted, "Beggars, durability test. My rock core axe can kill 100 wolves without blunting." The audience laughed at the wave. Baron Alliance ace, Muxue's musket can't withstand 3 rounds. Muxue held the explosive musket, and Luo Li Fengying's wristband flashed into the barrier. The 5 wolves pounced in a pack, their claws and teeth roaring. Ballon's axe struck like a mountain avalanche. The first wolf was shattered, but the axe blade was undamaged. Muxue didn't dodge, but the musket fired, Kang Cheong. 2 bullets accurately exploded the claw joints, the wolf's legs exploded and rolled, and the remaining fire of the blue flame vortex burned and scorched. In the second round of 10 wolves, Baron gasped and chopped 5 heads with his axe, the blade curling slightly. Muxue fired continuously, the magic crystal bullets locked the weak points like missiles, the blood mist of the blasting wolf sprayed into the sky, the barrel was only hot but not red. Luo Li's wind shadow shot with arrows, the green wind blade cut his throat, and the wolf corpses piled up mountains and rivers of blood. Ballon's axe couldn't stand it anymore, and the blade cracked in the 3rd wave of wolves. He knelt down and roared, "Accurate blast? Durable, your gun, devil." The barrier opened, green smoke curled from the muzzle of Muxue's gun, and Ballon's axe shattered into iron slag. The whole place was dead silent. The dwarf cried, "One shot, one blast, the myth of durability. She rewrites the forging." Amidst the cheers, a mature businessman in a golden robe emerged with a shrewd smile on his face. He held the thunder treasure box in his arms and said, "Fairy Muxue. Chu Qian, a trade ally. I heard about your magic weapon and offered you the rare Thunder Crystal Stone in exchange for future trade cooperation, to open up the barrier route and share the spiritual mineral wealth. After taking the crystal stone, the thunder light pulsed like a heartbeat, and the air was pungent with electricity. Muxue's eyes brightened. Deal. I'll give you exclusive information on the Elf Channel. Chuqian laughed, happy. The Lu family's monopoly is over, a new era. The craftsman looked sideways, and an old businessman trembled. The richest man in Chuqian Kingdom joins forces with beggars? The trade pattern is shattered. As night falls, I rest beside the Muxue or pile, and the essence of the fire crystal shines. Suddenly a shadow flashed, and 3 men in black clothes rushed in, grabbing the stone bag with their hooks and claws, whispering, Master Lu ordered, grab them all. Muxue had already set up a trap, the whip blade circuit was pre-activated, and the blue mist net exploded hiddenly. The thief steps on the net, Kara. The blades were wrapped like ropes, and the thunder chain armor projected onto their throats. They struggled and screamed, trap? Wild girl is tricking us. Luo Li Feng's shadow flashed, 3 arrows hit the head, and blood splashed on the stone with fishy heat. Muxue stepped forward calmly, raised her gun and raised her eyebrows at the thief leader, Lu Ting. The recording magic crystal, the evidence is complete. The thief vomited blood, young master, the forbidden magic weapon, in the semifinals. I will take your life. The dawn bell rings, the knockout semifinals. The elder shouted, Muxue, to Lu Ting. The forbidden magic weapon of the family is here. Lu Ting jumped up from the stage, his thunder sword turned into black light, and he threw out the forbidden spiritual mine, blood thunder crystal. The blood flames of the furnace fire rose to the sky, and the smell of rotting blood filled the air. He smiled ferociously, savage, die. The blood-eating thunder halberd has infinite soul-sucking durability and pierces your heart. The bloodlines on the body of the halberd squirmed, like a living creature hungry and thirsty. The audience gasped, a forbidden weapon? It is an ancestral tradition of the Lu family, it can eat all beasts without destroying it. Muxue is finished. Luo Li held her wrist and shouted, Muxue, his halberd, threatens life. Shen Mo's staff trembled, disciple, be careful of the blood curse. Chuqian looked at the distance and narrowed his eyes, trade, is suspended? The eyes of everyone were like needles. Muxue grabbed the musket, fenging wrist guard Luo Li was in place, the sky was burning with domineering flames, the road to the trade empire was facing the most fierce battle amidst the roar of blood and thunder. Luo Li sat paralyzed and panted, her green eyes worshipping like stars. You, thermonuclear explosion? Spider King is an undead monster, you can decide life or death with one shot. Muxue grabbed the crystal core and smiled wildly. In engineering thermodynamics, weakness is the opportunity to win. Let's go back to the forging. The night wind outside the cave roared, competing. The arena was brightly lit like a sea of stars. When they returned, the craftsmen gathered around the fire and whispered, there are no survivors in the back mountain, they bring the crystal back? That's fake. An old miner rubbed his eyes and screamed, fire crystal essence. 90% pure, stained with the blood of the Spider King. Beggars are against the will of heaven. Lu Ting leaped into the barrier with a grin on his face, hunting in black robes, the bloody streaks of the blood-devouring thunder halberd squirming like a hungry snake, and the blade of the halberd was dripping with blood and spitting black smoke. He roared, savage, die. The shadow of the halberd turned into a bloody thunderstorm, and the first wave of wolves rushed towards him. The 20 armored demon wolves were full of claws, and their roars were deafening. Lu Ting's halberd swept like a mountain avalanche, blood exploded, and the wolf's body shattered into pieces. The soul energy was sucked into the halberd's body like black mist, and the blade glow became stronger without any damage. The audience shouted wildly, "Infinite durability! Mr. Lu, the magic weapon has descended from the sky." Luo Li's green eyes were anxious, and the fengying wristband buzzed. "Muxue, his blood curse sucks souls, don't fight with the gun." Shen Mo's amethyst staff trembled, and his white hair flew. "Disciple, the weakness is in the blood core veins." Chu Qian's golden robe looked from a distance, squinting and whispered, "It's hanging." Muxue took the position with the explosive gun. The domineering flames in her eyes were suppressed, and the whip-blade dagger concealed the pulse in her sleeves. The second wave of wolves was like a black cloud, their claws tearing through the sky. The musket was raised, Kang! The magic crystal bullet locked the wolf's heart exploded, blue flames swirled and blood mist sprayed into the sky, and the smell of burnt hair filled his nose. But Lu Ting's halberd flashed, and the blood thunder chain wrapped around the barrel of the gun. The soul energy backfired, and the gun body creaked and turned red. Muxue's wrists trembled and rolled, and the chainmail thunder ring exploded with arcs of counterattack, but was swallowed up by the blood mist, leaving only scorch marks. She gritted her teeth and retreated, her wolf claws scraping against her armor causing sparks, blood stains seeping through her clothes, and severe pain like fire. "Damn it, the erosion of the blood curse." The whole audience laughed at the wave, and a noble woman screamed, "Look! The barrel of the beggar's gun is bent. Mr. Lu, kill her with 3 moves." The dwarf craftsman spat out Xingfei, "A myth of durability? A joke. The blood halberd is invincible." Luo Li's bowstring snapped and buzzed. Feng Ying's green arrows shot to tear out the wolf's throat, and the green wind blade cut the blood river, but Lu Ting's halberd turned, and the blood thunder exploded. The soul energy of the wolf corpse surged wildly. In the third wave of 50 wolves, he danced with the halberd and sealed the blood net, sucking all the wolf souls. The thick blood veins in the halberd body beat like a heart, and roared, "Your gun is melting." Mu Zhu gasped, and modern thermal imaging brain flashed, blood core overload. The blue mist circuit of her whip blade pulsates, and the electric whip whips the handle of the halberd, causing a trace of blood to break, and the green blood splashes into the sour air. But the halberd backfired, and the soul lock pulled her into the blood net. The poisonous blood burned her skin like needle pricks, and the cracks in the gun barrel spread, and she was about to collapse. Shen Mo smashed his staff on the ground and roared, "9 palaces lock spirit, protect her." Purple light poured into the barrier, the wind shadow wrist guard Luo Li exploded with green light, and 3 arrows penetrated the weak point of the blood network, tearing open the gap. Mu Zhu seized the momentary gap, fully opened the thunder chain armor, and used the thunder crystal to increase the infinite magic power. The musket whirlpool was spinning wildly. Serial explosions. Clang, clang, clang. 10 bullets are like blue star missiles locking the blood core veins, accurately blasting the blood pattern nodes, and the sound is loud and clear. The soul energy of the blood halberd surged forward, and the body of the halberd exploded with blood and mist rising into the sky. Lu Ting screamed and retreated, leaving only a charred body on the handle of the halberd. The soul energy backfired and his face was twisted and veins popped out. "Impossible, my blood bite." The whole place was dead silent, and the dwarf craftsman stared and rubbed his beard. Serial explosion point? The blood core is locked, destroying the taboo with 1 shot. She rewrites the rules. The noble woman screamed and fell to the ground. Master Lu's halberd was destroyed? A beggar is against the sky. But the gun was overloaded, the barrel crackled and exploded, blue flames sprayed and burned the hand, and the remaining slag of the magic crystal bullet dripped to the ground. Mu Zhu knelt down panting for blood, and the armor chain bent and creaked. the durability, is the limit. Lu Ting got up with a grim smile, summoning the fragments of the new halberd to gather blood, victory against me in the semi-final. But you won't survive the final. The barrier bell rang, and the elder announced, the weapon is durable, Muxue wins. But it was destroyed by overload, repair at time limit resumes. The audience was excited, and the elders of the Craftsmen's Guild looked at each other and trembled. She saves the field. No, wait. Suddenly a shadow flashed around the corner, and the defeated craftsman Baron was dragged into the shadows by the black-clothed assassin's hook and claw. He hammered, smashed his axe, knelt down and screamed, Lu family, spare your life. Muxue has a keen eye, and the recording magic crystal flashes in her brain, evidence. She threw the whip blade out of the blue mist net and exploded. The blade was wrapped around the assassin like an electric rope, and the thunder chain armor projected its throat. Get away! The assassin screamed and struggled, and the hook fell. Baron escaped and coughed up blood. The strong man knelt down in tears. Fairy, help me. The loser of the Lu family's assassination, destroy the evidence. The whole place was in an uproar. The guild craftsmen roared and surrounded. A dwarf elder shook his hammer and said, evidence. Recording magic crystal, release it. The red light projected, and the assassin's previous whispers echoed. Master Lu ordered, silence everyone. The Craftsman's Guild was furious, and the elder's scepter swept the assassin with golden light. The guild supports Muxue. The Lu family's conspiracy, investigate. Baron hugged Muxue's legs and cried, my benefactor. The Blacksmith Alliance, we will follow you to the death. Luo Li's wind shadow flashed, 3 arrows blasted the assassin's head, and the blood splashed with hot blood. Muxue, your game, God. After the game, by the fireside, Muxue repaired the fragments of the gun, and Shen Mo's ghost appeared, with a white-haired shawl and a whisper, disciple, crossing the barrier is not an accident, the chosen prophecy. Ancient scrolls record that a saint was forged from another world, broke the infiltration of the devil, and opened up a prosperous world of 2 worlds. You are destined. Muxue's eyes brightened, and the modern engineering brain turned around. Master, evidence? Shen Mo's staff clicked on the projection of the ancient scroll, and the starlight text flashed. The forest fisher spits out the saint, the magic weapon revolution, destroys the wave of demons. The craftsmen around him knelt down and trembled. The prophecy has come true. The master has personally confirmed that she is a saint. Luo Li's green eyes were filled with tears, and she held Muxue's hand. From the Spider King to now, you have always saved my life. Bond, eternal life. Luo Li's ears suddenly trembled, and Feng Ying's wristbands buzzed. Reconnaissance, border intelligence, Lu Ting colluded with the demons. The black-robed demon envoy, donated the blood thunder crystal to cheat, intends to collapse the conference, and open the Demon King's channel. Muxue Ba Yenfen, evidence? Luo Li's green silk bow projected the image of the magic crystal, the black shadow traded blood crystals, and the rancid magic words echoed. Lu family dog, crystal supply, the final bite of the saint. Chu Qian's golden robe rushed in, his shrewd smile faded, and he cupped his hands and whispered, Fairy, our intelligence network has confirmed. The kingdom's conspiracy has emerged. The Demon King's influence infiltrated the conference, bribed by high-level officials. The Demon King's trial in the final. The weapons are infinitely resistant to demon flames. Lu Ting, chess piece. Muxue grasped the pulse of the thunder spar, sniffed the electricity and stung his nose. Cooperation deepens. The red flames of the fire are soaring into the sky, and the sweet smell of fire mixed with iron juice and burnt aroma is astonishing to the nostrils. Muxue brain flash modern sniper rifle, High-precision rifling plus air pressure propulsion plus heat tracking. The thunder crystal is cut into a bullet core, and the Shen Mo amethyst rod is infused with high-level magic crystal technology. Dragon flame inscriptions, lock the magic dragon's breath. The blue mist circuit simulates the rifling, the magic wolf grey residual crystal powder catalyzes the nano-coating, and the residual melting core of the fire crystal essence. The bow is elongated in silver and black, the dragon pattern floats, the strings buzz like thunder, the arrow trough air pressure vortex, the sight thermal imaging crystal. Dragon flame sniper bow. Luo Li, it's yours. Luo Li clasped the bow and tried to pull it, her green eyes flashed, and there were 10 after-images of her figure, and she tried shooting at the stone target 100 feet away, Chiong. The dragon flame arrow shot through the air like a red dragon, exploding rocks into powder, and the heat wave burned the face. The dragon's roar was deafening, twice the accuracy. Long-range soul lock, the demons are dead. Shen Mo's staff trembled and praised, the work of the holy goddess. The magic crystal magic revolution. The craftsman stepped back and stared, bow and gun in one? Heat like sniper kill, no blind spots. Guild all worship. The dawn bells of the arena rolled like thunder, the blood-red barrier rose 3 feet high, the roar of monsters echoed, the stench of blood thunder and the smell of scorched earth intertwined in the air to form a suffocating heat wave. Everyone held their breath, the silk robes of the nobles were sticky with sweat, and the beards of the dwarf craftsmen were trembling. Whispering, blood-devouring thunder halberd. Lu family's taboo, soul-eating indestructible, beggar girl, dead. The elder's scepter hit the ground, and the golden light exploded. Semifinals. Muxue vs Lu Ting. After a long-lasting battle against the tide of beasts, the one whose weapon collapses will be defeated. Open. The bell rang for the final draw, and the elder's scepter exploded with gold. Final round. Muxue vs Lu Ting. Weapon resistance to the Demon King is tested, the void demonic flame burns for 7 days, and the one who collapses is defeated. Prepare for war. The whole audience gasped, and the nobles trembled. Another duel? Demon King Flame, Fusion God Weapon. Saint, danger. Lu Ting Yuan's face twisted, and his blood-stained eyes roared at his subordinates. At the end of the taboo, the demons come to help and take her soul. Luo Li held the dragon flame bow and buzzed, the Shen Mo staff loomed, Chu Qian squinted his eyes. A big crisis, the devil is coming in person? The domineering flames in Muxue's eyes are like stars burning, fragments of the remaining muskets are being grasped, the thunder crystal is pulsing, the revolution of new recruits is imminent, the pattern of the 2 worlds, in the trial of the demon flame, will be completely overturned. The night wind was like a knife, a fire was blazing at the edge of the arena, red flames were licking the iron hooks, the heat wave mixed with the burnt aroma of spiritual minerals and the residual stench of blood hit his face. Muxue sat cross-legged by the fire, the thunder chain armor bent and creaked, and the blue mist circuit faintly pulsated at the crack. She grabbed the fragments of the exploding musket. The slag was still burning her fingertips. She smelled the pungent smell of burning metal, and the domineering flames in her eyes were suppressed to the point of needles. We won the semi-final victory over the Blood Halberd. The guild supports it, and the Blacksmith Alliance swears to follow. But the Demon King's flame burned for 7 days, and all the magic weapons melted. Lu Ting demonic backup, the final, hangs in the balance. Luo Lifengying's wristband buzzed and flashed green, and she knelt down to wipe the dragon flame sniper bow, her green eyes flashing anxiously. Muxue, prepare for the war in 3 days. I will scout the border, the demon camp will increase its troops, and the black-robed demon general will come in person to provide evil crystals to help Lu Ting. Shen Mo's amethyst staff touched the ground, his white hair flying in the air and murmured, "Disciple, the ancient scrolls predicted that the holy goddess soldiers will destroy the demon penetration. But the demonic flames in the void will not destroy the souls, and all the old equipment will be destroyed. The shadow of Chu Qian's golden robe came out, and he handed the spirit mine box with squinted eyes. Fairy, alone the thunder crystal plus star mine, the demon king's intelligence, bribed by the 3 senior elders, and the demonic summon hidden in the flames. Ballon hit the ground with a heavy hammer, and the strong man's tears were still wet, and he shouted, "Benefactor! 300 blacksmiths from the Alliance are guarding the hearth. The Lu family dog, silence will not be revolted." The craftsmen in the audience whispered around the furnace, and the dwarfs' beards trembled. "Saint? I heard the prophecy, but the magic flame test, all the magic weapons were melted in 3 days, the beggar girl, crazy dream." An aristocratic craftswoman sneered and waved her fan. "Master Lu's new halberd, quenched with demonic evil crystals, infinite regeneration, she has a spear and a whip blade, what a joke." Muxue's ears trembled, and her modern engineering brain flashed, the ultimate artifact. She swung her whip-blade dagger through the blue mist, splattering fragments of strengthened spiritual minerals, and the counterattack wrist guard was buzzing. "Master, borrow the amethyst staff plus Jiegong soul locker." Luo Li, the guardian of the wind shadow. "I, the forged star hammer." Shen Mo said, exploding purple light. The staff pointed at the ancient scroll and projected the star text. "Okay. Multiple circuits, self-healing and strengthening, star veins to lock the demon." Luo Li's green bow was fully drawn, and the dragon flame pattern floated and the heat wave burned into the sky. "I patrol the border and snipe souls from thousands of miles away. For 3 days without sleep, the fire never goes out, the iron juice boils like lava and roars, the sweet smell of fire mixes with the electricity and stings the nose." Muxue waved a temporary E-class craftsman card into the furnace, melted the star ore plus thunder spar, simulated the diversion of blue mist combustible elements, and rolled hammer tires using high-pressure alloy technology, Kara. In the first try, the star veins were overloaded, the cracks on the hammer body were like spider webs, and the residual starlight leaked out, burning the eyebrows and smelling burnt. The craftsmen in the audience burst into laughter, and Baron held the hammer and trembled. "My benefactor, failed? The star mine is too crazy." The noble woman screamed, "Look!" The beggar smashed the hammer. Mr. Lu won. Muxue gritted her teeth, bloodshot eyes crawled, smelling the rotten smell of molten slag, the thermal imaging weakness, adjustment. Shen Mo injected the dragon flame inscription, the Jiegong soul lock stabilizes the pulse, Luo Li's wind shadow flashes back, green eyes are anxious, the devil's camp has changed, and the black general comes out. On the second day, the hammer tire is recast, the nanocoating simulates the grey powder of the devil wolf, the dragon bow is exhausted, borrowed from the guild to replenish it, embedded with a self-circulating magic ring plus automatic strengthening inscription, Qiong. When he hits the hearthstone with a hammer, the starburst explodes but bites his hand bones and makes a crackling sound. The pain is like thunder, and the hammer body bends and creaks. She knelt down and panted, her armor chain broken and stained with blood. "The limit. I can't hold it down." The dwarf elder rubbed his eyes and spat. "Self-healing circuit? It will backfire on itself and destroy the saint." The string of Luo Li's bow was broken, and the green arrow was fired at the fireside test target. Dragon flames penetrated the stone and flew into the face with heat waves, but she whispered, "Muxue, hold on. Your game, God." Chu Qian handed over the essence of the stars, and his shrewd face converged. "Fairy, the information, Lu Ting's evil sword, possessing the demon god, the dark storm summons double the void flame." At dawn on the third day, Muxue's eyes were as red as blood, integrating everything, electric welding to weld the star core, spraying nanolock magic, Heat-tracing crystals inlaid into the hammer's eyes, Shen Mo's high-level magic crystals fully invested, the silver-black body of the hammer was elongated, the star patterns were beating like living veins, the air was buzzing and the ears were buzzing, the self-healing blue mist shrouded instantly, and the enhanced golden light loomed. She tried to strike the void with her hammer, boom. Starbursts are like falling stars, thunder roars to tear the air, hot wind burns the skin in the aftermath, and the dust from the furnace stone sizzles. Shen Mo's staff trembled and white hair stood up. It's done. The star-forged divine hammer, the divine craftsman revolution. Baron's heavy hammer fell to the ground, and the strong man knelt down and burst into tears and yelled, "The divine hammer of benefactor. Witness the alliance, Star Vane is self-strengthened and invincible." The dwarf craftsman stared and rubbed his beard and retreated. Self-healing? Strengthening? The beggar rewrites the forging path. The guild worships the saint. The noble woman slapped it down and screamed, "Monster hammer! Mr. Lu, you are in danger." Sudden. Night fell again, and shadows surged around the arena. The black-robed demon tore open its hooks and claws. The putrid demonic flames hit their nostrils like corpse breath. 20 demonic soldiers roared at the furnace, "Get the soul of the saint. Lu Ling, destroy the hammer." There were 10 after-images of Luo Li's wind, and the dragon's flame sniped and locked the thermal image of the bow, clang clang clang. 1,000-mile arrows are like red dragon strings, the blood mist bursts from the center of the demon's eyebrows into the sky, the roar of the dragon is deafening, and the rotten corpses roll. Shen Mo's amethyst staff hit the ground, the Jiugong soul-locking purple net exploded, and the demonic soldier's soul energy retaliated and howled miserably. The blacksmiths of the Baron Alliance danced with their heavy hammers, and the rain of iron smashed down the demon, and blood splashed on the stone with a fishy heat. Saint Protector. Muxue grabbed the divine hammer, the stars pulsed and buzzed, and the hammer shadow star blast wiped out the tail demon. The blue mist healed instantly around the wrist, strengthening the golden light, and the hammer body was thick. "Get out!" The remaining soul of the demon general roared. The demon king personally tried, the final bite. All were wiped out. Luo Li's green eyes excitedly wiped the blood. The evidence is recorded, all. Lu Ting is panicking to death. The final bell thundered. The blood-red barrier rose 7 feet. The demonic flames of the void coiled like a black dragon. The sky-burning heat wave distorted the vision, and the rotting stench suffocated everyone. The Elder's scepter exploded with gold. Finally. Muxue versus Lu Ting. Withstand the Demon King's flame for 7 days and collapse. The silk robes of the nobles in the audience were wet and sticky with sweat. The dwarf murmured and trembled. The flame-devouring magic weapon, the hammer of the saint, can it last 3 days? Lu Ting jumped in, black hunting in his robe. The new halberd's blood-gathered evil crystals squirmed. He smiled ferociously and cursed, possessed by the evil god. The halberd turned into a demon sword, black light surged, the dark storm summoned double void flames to burn the field, the heat rotted like hell, the sword body regenerated without damage, and the soul energy absorbed the flame power. The whole place was dead silent, and the elder of the craftsman guild turned pale. Evil sword? The devil has descended, the high-level infiltration is real. Luo Li's green eyes were focused, and the dragon bow buzzed. Muxue, his flames are infinite. Muxue entered the realm with the star divine hammer, and the star veins of the hammer body were suppressed and humming. Hum, lower at first, the handle of the flaming hammer, the star pattern creaking and melting red, the putrid skin burning and needling. She retreated, and gasped for blood. Damn, double. Lu Ting laughed wildly and swept the dark storm with his sword, and the blade regenerated and pulsed with blood. Holy girl? Melt the corpse. The audience ridiculed, and a noble screamed, "The hammer is bent." Lu Shenzhen will be destroyed in 3 days. Shen Mo's staff was protected by purple light, and Luo Li's green arrows assisted in tearing the flame gap. Muxue's modern brain flash principle, overload diversion. The divine hammer self-heals the blue mist, strengthens the golden light explosion, and the star veins lock the evil core weakness. Starburst forging. Clang. Hammering the shadow of the galaxy through the sky, accurately smashing the blood core of the evil sword, and blasting continuously. The demonic sword's soul energy reversed, and the dark storm collapsed. The black mist rose into the sky and turned into a rotten mountain of corpses. Lu Ting howled in agony, his face was twisted and bruised, and the sword exploded and fragments flew out. Impossible, the evil god cannot be destroyed. The flames shrank for 7 days, and the hammer's self-strengthening starlight purified the whole place. The blue and golden light swept away the demonic infiltration, the heat wave turned into a breeze, and the stars shone brightly on the blind eyes of all the people. The entire audience fell to their knees in deathly silence. The dwarf elder shook his hammer and shouted, "The hammer of the god! The saint is invincible, rewrite history." The noble woman collapsed in tears. The master craftsman has come to the world. Kneel down. The Ballon Alliance roared to the sky, "The hammer of the emperor! Dominate both worlds." The night wind howled, Luo Li Feng's shadow sneaked out to investigate the demon camp on the border, and the dragon flame bow locked the black-robed demon envoy, Qiong. An arrow from thousands of miles away pierced the eyebrows, dragon flames exploded into the sky, and the rotting demon corpses rolled into the sky. The demon soldiers in the camp roared, "Assassin! Saint's bow, divine punishment!" Luo Li returned with green eyes excited, "Evidence of collusion, all recorded crystals are destroyed." Lu Ting, panic. Muxue smiled lightly and wiped the bow ashes, "Guild support plus prophecy plus demon certificate, the trade empire is stable." Chu Qian laughed and took the box. "Exclusive spiritual mine, Demon King intelligence continues to be supplied." New route, hegemony in both worlds. In the golden tent behind the palace, the king whispered to Muxue, his voice as low as the cold wind, "Master craftsman, enchantment trade, the ban has not been lifted. The elf king is stubbornly resisting, the demon king's remnants are lurking, the new route is dangerous." Chuqian's golden robe flashed in, and handed the ancient map with a low smile, "Fairy, follow me to open up the forest." Lin Rakai, "My intelligence network plus your divine hammer, break the ban and break into the elven realm." But the demon king's army has already ambushed. Muxue grasped the divine hammer, and the pulses were buzzing. The domineering flames in her eyes were burning again, and the air was stinging with electricity. A new crisis was looming like a flame. On the road to the trade empire, the bloody battle was about to begin. The candlelight flickered in the golden tent, and wax tears dropped like blood. The air was hot and stuffy, mixed with the musty smell of rust and aged parchment rolls, making one's chest feel tight. The king's golden crown hung low, and the starlight of his scepter dimmed. He tapped the jade case with his old fingers, and his voice was as low as frost, "Master craftsman, the jade medal has been sealed, and you have the authority to station on the east wing of the forging tower. However, the enchantment prohibits iron and stone." The elf king Lothar swore a blood curse, "Foreigners tread in the forest. Thousands of arrows burning souls. The remnants of the demon king's party have been lost, and the border posts have been lost. The crack information is probably a bait." Muxue's star hammer hit the ground, the star veins on the hammer's body buzzed slightly like a suppressed heartbeat, and the blue mist pulsed intermittently at the cracks in the thunder chain armor, and the heat wave remained on the skin. The domineering flames in her eyes flickered, and she smelled the rotten soil brought by the dark wind in the tent. "Your Majesty, the trade cannot be opened, and the demons are infiltrating. What's the explanation for Chuqian's ancient map? She squinted in the shadow of Chuqian's golden robe, and the sheepskin map slowly unfolded, and the ink was twisted like blood. Fairy, there are 3 cracks in the forest, reborn from the aftermath of the demon flame trial. The northern line is a secret nest of monsters, the middle line is patrolling, and the southern line, the outpost, is disconnected, suspicious of the demon. The king's army. Luo Li's green eyes reflected the candlelight with anxiety, and the green threads of Feng Ying's wristbands buzzed. She wiped the dragon flames and sniped at the bow strings. The remaining heat of the dragon pattern on the bow sneered, Muxue, the blood oath of the elves, the iron law of our clan. Intruders, fire with thousands of bows. The night wind roared outside the tent, the remaining flames of the arena smelled like scorched corpses, the blacksmith alliance's low roar echoed, and the sound of Baron's heavy hammer hitting the ground came like thunder. Saintus. Alliance prepares a car. The curtain was lifted, and Shen Mo broke in with his white hair disheveled. The amethyst staff knocked on the jade steps, and the purple light on the head of the staff was suppressed and flickered. Apprentice. The tower is stationed in the right, and the ancient scroll continues, the imperial inscription, lock the world and break the devil. He flicked his sleeves to project the astronomical scroll, and the air buzzed with magic ripples hitting his face, and the sweet fragrance mixed with purple electricity was pungent. All the craftsmen in the tent lowered their heads, and the dwarf elder Shu shivered and retreated, rubbing his eyes. Emperor's inscription? Old Shen's hidden skills have been banned for many years. A saintly female match? The aristocratic attendant's face turned pale with sweat rolling down his face, and his fan bones rattled. The east wing of the tower, the holy land of the guild. Beggar girl, match to drive? Muxue grabbed the hammer and stood up, her armor chain creaking with blood still stained, and a needle flashed in her eyes. Master, pass. Shen Mo's stick touched the center of her eyebrows, the purple mist stabbed her brain like a needle, and the pain burned her soul. She gritted her teeth and groaned, her vision of the galaxy was distorted, the imperial inscription was unlocked. High-frequency oscillation magic locking array, adaptive spiritual vein fusion, and triple void barrier. The engineering diagram in the mind explodes, the nanocoating upgrades the magic crystal resonance, and the welding veins run through the 9 palaces. At dawn, the fire in the east wing of the forging tower soared into the sky, the red flames roared and licked the iron walls, and the heat wave mixed with the sweet smell of molten ore juice and the stench of electricity hit all the craftsmen. Muxue's E-level craftsman brand shines with jade light, and wields the first batch of 100 hammers from the god's hammer. The enhanced spirit mind dagger is upgraded to a level, embedded with the emperor's inscription blue mist self-circulation. The whip blade dagger has heat-tracing crystal embedded eyes, and the high-pressure alloy is 3 times longer. The iron juice boiled like lava and roared, and the aftershocks of the hammer fell and the starburst shook the tower wall. The craftsman stared back, and the hand hammer clanked on the ground. Adaptive? The dagger blade pulses with vitality. The saint reforged the way. The 300 strong men of the Baron Alliance were in the furnace, dripping with sweat and blood mixed with iron juice. The heavy hammers danced in unison but trembled and whispered, the Emperor's inscription. Alliance weapon, magical transformation. But the news of Warcraft, the cracks in the forest, the black cloud pressure. The dwarf elder's beard was scorched and curled, rubbing it. Foaming at the eyes, batch? Tower production speed, 3 times the guild. Beggar revolution, guild worship. The demon king is jealous. Luo Li's green bow test-fired the tower target, dragon flame arrows penetrated the stone, blood-red mist exploded, and the heat wave scorched the sky. She narrowed her green eyes. Muxue, the weapons are ready. The fleet is ready, test the southern route? Chuchian gold boxes were piled at the base of the tower, and the Thunder Crystal Star Mine shone. Ferry, the maiden voyage is 50 cars, the magic crystal repurchase price is 10 times. But the outpost is broken, the intelligence is dark. At dusk, the iron cavalry came out of the tower. The 50 iron carriages of the trade convoy rumbled. The wheel axles were humming to prevent shocks. The reinforced dagger array on the roof shone with blue mist. The blacksmith of the Defense Alliance held a new hammer and dagger, and the armor rang in unison. The fog at the forest border is as thick as ink, the stench of rotten leaves and the low roars of monsters are assaulting your nostrils, the green light of the barrier pulses and is suppressed, and a dark and twisted shadow looms on the southern line of the rift. Muxue rides on the head, the Star Divine hammer crosses the saddle, the cracked thunder chain armor is repaired by blue mist, the wind shadow and Luo Li gallop together, the dragon flame bow lock is buzzing like heat. Chu Qianhu Che narrowed his eyes and whispered, "Fairy, the crack is narrow, it is a sign of a tide of beasts." Suddenly, the earth's veins trembled, all the beasts roared like thunder, black mist exploded, a wave of demonic wolves with thousands of iron armors crashed into the car formation, minions sprayed fishy heat on the face, grey powder and rotten mist melted iron. The wheel stuck in the mud and blood, and the craftsman screamed with a heavy hammer but retreated and trembled, leader of the demon wolf king. The carapace is not broken, the emperor's dagger is broken. Baron roared to the sky and swung a new hammer, the star pulse locked demon's head exploded with grey blood and blood splashed hot, but the wolf surged, the strong man's arm bones shattered and poured into a pool of blood, benefactor. The tide is endless, the black cloud calls. Luo Li's wind shadow flashed 10 times, the dragon flame sniper bow was fully loaded with air pressure and buzzed, and the green arrows strung the wolf king's eyebrows to lock the soul, boom. The red dragon flames surged through the corpse mountain and the rotten stench rose to the sky. The heat wave burned the skin and blinded the eyes. However, the black robe of the wolf queen fled, and the roar of the monster intensified. Elf-restricted area, car eating. Muxue jumped into the car, the divine hammer swept away the wolves with a blast of stars, the blue mist healed itself and instantly surrounded the hammer body, the golden light strengthened 3 times, and the nano-ash powder simulated the rotten mist back devouring the beast armor and exploded continuously. But the tide never stopped, 3 iron carts overturned, and the broken crystals from the spirit or box rolled with blood and mud. She gasped for blood, her armor cracked, and the rotten claws scratched her arms. "I can't hold it down, the magic summons is endless." The Master Craftsman Guild came to the rescue late, and the dwarf elder looked at it from a distance, his face white and beard trembling. "The saint is trapped. The remains of the wolf-tide demon king, the outposts are all wiped out." Luo Li's green eyes were bloodshot, her bowstring was broken and pulled again, and half of the rain of dragon flame arrows was cleared. The hot wind hit his face, but he roared, "Muxue, retreat. The rift trap." Chuqian's golden robe was stained with blood, and he hurriedly said to Lu Jing, "Fairy, the beast core magic crystal is worth it. But half the car is lost, and the hegemony is injured." Finally the tide broke, the convoy was 30, the magic crystal was loaded with blood and returned to the tower, the craftsman knelt down with blood and shed tears, Saint Goddess Chu Luo Gong, save the Alliance. But the forest is dark, the trade road is bloody. It was late at night in the tower, and the Shen Mo stick projected the news of Lu Ting's prison, and the ancient scroll flashed with blood. "Disciple, Lu Ting is moving. The devil's conspiracy, the void flame is not a test, but a summoning gate." The 3 senior elders, dedicated to the city and the spirit mine, to open the eternal night world. The remaining party lurked in the capital, and the outposts were all fake. Muxue's eyes were red and she grabbed the hammer. Luo Li wiped her bow with tears. "Muxue, I'm spying on the side of the elves, blood oath solution? Chuqian smiled and handed Heijing. Fairy, modern, no, border intelligence network, magic crystal ship model, your engineering brain, design the armored fleet. First voyage certificate, sealed by the king. Her brain flashed. High-pressure pneumatic wheel plus electric welding car shell plus hot pursuit crystal array plus Emperor's inscription self-circulation. The wall of the blueprint galaxy projection tower was buzzing. The master craftsman stared and rubbed his head. Armored car? Autonomous artery. Saint's secret, the guild collapses. Baron dropped his heavy hammer to the ground and shouted in tears, benefactor's dominance. After 5 days of intense forging, the new convoy's hundreds of armored vehicles rumbled, the blue mist on the car body pulsed like a living beast, the dagger array was embedded with dragon flames, and it made its maiden voyage to the south and broke through the rift again. The thick fog and rotten roar intensified, the magic crystals filled the forest, the elf shadows were seen in the distance and the green light flashed out, and the outposts were destroyed and black smoke filled the sky with fishy heat. Tower celebration fireworks, Chuqian Jinbei salute, fairy, 1,000 tons of magic crystal, buy back the gold veins. Trade is open, the empire is founded. But the dark wind in the night tent came back, Luo Li's wind shadow flashed back, the green eyes were ashen and the bowstring broke, Muxue. Border outpost, the evil god's messenger ambushed. Thousands of black wings, 10 cars burning with rotting flames, the devil's personal talisman summons, the root is broken. Mu Xuexing smashed the case with his hammer and exploded jade fragments, tyrannical flames burned his eyes, black clouds pressed down on the city outside the tower, and the rotten smell was like a tide of corpses. The Blacksmith Alliance murmured and trembled, the evil god? The devil is back, the saint is in danger. The dwarf elder knelt down and said, the bloody road of trade is in jeopardy. The elf king heard that everything is in danger. Arrow preparation? Chuqian's face narrowed and he said, fairy, the information is broken, the pro-army package. Shen Mo's purple light suppressed. Disciple, the end of the ancient scroll, the bloody battle saint, breaking through the eternal night. The air is buzzing, the demonic veins are beating, the crisis is surging, the road to the trade empire is approaching a cliff. The candle flame in the tent suddenly went out, black clouds poured down from the top like ink, the putrid wind rushed in through the cracks in the window, mixed with the pungent stench of burnt corpses and sulfur. The iron clock on the wall of the tower hummed low, as if the heartbeat was about to stop. The aftermath of Muxue's star god hammer attack is still lingering, jade fragments are scattered like a shower of stars, the blue mist of the thunder chain armor on her chest pulses intermittently, the damaged areas are hot and painful, and blood seeps through the seams of the armor and evaporates. The domineering flames burned in his eyes, and the engineering diagrams and ancient scroll prophecies in his mind overlapped and tumbled. The ambition of the trading empire was like fire, and the saints' bloody battle mission was like a mountain, but they were flanked by the evil god Black Wings and the elf Blood Oath. The root fell off a cliff, and the devil's eternal night shadow swallowed everything. She gritted her teeth and thought to herself, back? One step back, thousands of tons of magic crystal blood are exchanged for nothing. Chuqian's golden veins are cut off, and 300 strong men from the Alliance die in vain. Go in. Black Wings burn the car with rotten flames, Luo Li's green eyes are ashen, Shen Mo's ancient scroll ends in a bloody battle. I, Mu Zhu, with the engineering brain of the previous life, traveled through this world. How can I allow the remnants of the Demon King to destroy the hegemony? Veins exploded in her fists, and the hammer handle's star veins buzzed in response, suppressing heat waves hitting her face. Luo Li Fengying's green silk wristbands trembled, and her green eyes were covered with bloodshot eyes. The broken string dragon flame sniper bow rested on her knees. The dragon pattern on the bow was still hot, and the thermal imaging crystal eyes were as dim as death. Muxue. The elf king Lothar has sworn an iron law of blood, and our patrol shadow has locked the southern rift. The evil god's black wings, thousands of miles of rotten flames to burn souls, 3 arrows to kill the scouts when scouting, but summoned a wave of thousands of wings. Withdraw from the forest? Thousands of boughs burned. The voice trembled like the wind. Withered leaves, the low roar of the blacksmith alliance outside the tower turned into suppressed gasps. Baron's heavy hammer hit the ground with a click. The blood marks on the strong man's arm bone were not dry, sweat and blood mixed with iron juice dripping from the stone. His throat rolled, and the sound was like muffled thunder and shattering. Benefactor. The Alliance has 300 rounds of furnaces with new hammers to lock the demon, and the bloody battle with the wolf tide has won, but the Black Wings ambush. The Demon King's personal talisman, the blood trade route. Absolute. The dwarf elder knelt down to collect the ashes, rubbing his eyes and foaming face. By Rougi, Saint Queen's imperial inscription revolution, the guild worships her. But after hearing about the ruins of the evil god, the bloody battle between the Holy Lady at the end of the ancient scroll, I'm afraid of death. Chuchian's golden robe was stained with blood, and the Black Crystal Intelligence Network was disconnected. He squinted his eyes and knocked on the box with his fingers, and his voice was as cold as a snake's letter. Fairy, the maiden voyage of 1,000 tons of magic crystal gold veins has been repurchased tenfold, and the royal capital's business connections are boiling. But the route is cut off, and the border tribes' cavalry have heard about it. The nobles have joined forces with the remnants of the Lu family to blockade the tower. East Wing Supply, Intelligence Black Hole, Hegemony. Shen Mo's amethyst staff head with 9 palace-locked souls flickered with purple light, and his white hair was scattered like a ghost shadow. His staff knocked on the jade steps, and the bloody light of the ancient scroll was distorted. Disciple, the news from Lu Ting's prison continues. Jailbreak. The Demon King's blood talisman is unlocked, and the evil army attacks the first trading post. The Eternal Night Gate is opened, the 3 senior elders present their souls to the Mind City, and the remaining party lurks in the king's capital to rebel against the nobles. The entire tent was dead silent, wax tears were dripping with blood, and Mu Zu's heart felt like thousands of needles pricking her. Lu Ting, the sworn enemy evil sword blood-gathering demon god was reborn. The prison trick revealed the conspiracy, but he was still alive, and the demons attacked the station together. At the first stop of the trade fortress, 30 armored vehicles were left in a pool of blood. She thought about the engineering game, retreating to the defense tower. Demons infiltrated the royal capital, and the nobles counterattacked to cut off supplies. Attack the southern rift? The black-winged rotting flame nanoash powder simulation is not complete, and the void barrier can withstand 7 days of purification, fearing that the car will be burned and the castle will be purified. Breaking the situation, deep within the barrier. The ancient scrolls prophesy the hidden ruins, the ancient forged divine tomes, and the fusion of imperial inscriptions or revolutionary weapons. The psychological balance was tilted, her ambition was blazing, and she sacrificed Luo Li to investigate in exchange for information. She stood up with a low roar, and the magic hammer swept the curtain with a starburst. Master, long-range inscription. Strengthen the fleet's weapons, upgrade the trade fortress, iron armor and void screen triple, hot pursuit crystal array inlaid dragon flame auxiliary, nanometer rotten mist backfires black wings. Luo Li, Feng the shadow detection barrier is deep, sniper the evil god scouts, explore the shadows of the ruins. Chuchian, talk about the border tribes, by iron cavalry to escort, the magic crystal is 10 times more attractive. Baron, the alliance is forged in 300 rounds of furnaces, the first batch of 100 hammer divine dagger dragon bow. The sound bully is like thunder, the hammering jade case, the star pulse lock demon is buzzing, and the air is filled with the sweet smell of fire. Shen Mo glared, his white hair standing on end, the purple stick pointed at the center of his eyebrows wildly. The The pain was like purple lightning burning his brain. Muxue groaned and the vision of the galaxy exploded. The divine inscription was unlocked. Ancient high-frequency oscillation plus 4th level of void flame purification. Nano-adaptive spiritual veins merge into the 9 palaces of dragon flame. The craftsman's eyes widened and he rubbed his head and stepped back. The hammer hit the ground with a clang and was hot. Master and Disciple God's biography? 4-fold inscription. The saint's brain is like a sea of stars, and the guild's holy land collapsed. Baron burst into tears and the heavy hammer hit his chest with a loud bang. 300 strong men shouted and knelt in blood. My benefactor, iron-blooded. Will furnace sleepless, the devil-locking divine weapon. Luo Li's green eyes lit up with flames, and the dragon pattern on her broken bow rekindled. 10 after-images of her wind flashed outside the tent, and the green thread buzzed. Muxue, the bond of eternal life. Search the depths, and the soul-locking will destroy the scouts from thousands of miles away. Chu Qian smiled at Jin. When the box is opened, the base of the thundering crystal pile shines. Fairy, secret. The tribal chief owes an old debt, and the magic crystal lures him to ride on thousands of iron cavalry. Outside the tower, the night wind howls and turns wild. The fire roars into the sky and the red flames roar and lick the iron wall. The heat wave is mixed with the sweet and electric smell of the molten ore juice, and the madness is forged. 5 knights, 200 armored convoys rumbled, the blue mist pulsating on the car body like the roar of a living beast. The void screen was embedded with triple dragon flame auxiliary formations. The black-winged rotten shadows were locked on the heat-seeking crystal eyes. The high-pressure pneumatic wheel welded shells clicked without sinking, and the dagger array whip blade was extended 5 times to eat back the dust. The thick rotten roar of the dawn fog intensified. Muxue rode the divine hammer across the saddle. The thunder chain armor was fully repaired. The blue mist pulse increased infinitely. The counterattack wrist deflector ring buzzed. A psychological game rekindled. The ruins are in danger. Luo Li Fengying may die. Sacrifice in exchange for the divine code, the cornerstone of the empire. The convoy rumbled through the southern rift. The green light of the barrier suppressed the pulse. The black mist exploded, and all the beasts roared. The iron cavalry of the border tribes merged together. The chief's black-robed beast's tooth crown trembled and knocked on the saddle. The saint's iron armor activates the veins. The Chuqian magic crystal debt is cleared, and the tribe swears to protect it. Luo Li's wind shadow flashed deep in the forest. Green his eyes were as hot as those of 3 black-winged scouts. The dragon flame sniper bow was buzzing with full air pressure. 1,000-mile soul-locking green arrows pierced the eyebrows and the rotten blood mist was so hot. 10 after-images roared. Muxue, at the bottom of the fissure in the northeast of the ruins, the shadow of the ancient temple. Muxue's heart relaxed, but suddenly the earth's veins collapsed. Black clouds pressed down on the forest. A rotten stench exploded like a mountain of corpses. The evil god's messenger blocked the sun with 1,000 wings. The flame wings melted the iron car shell, and the demon wolf's iron armor collided with the minions again and sprayed out fishy heat. The iron wall of the fortress of the first trading post caved in, and Shen Mo's remote purple light projection tower wall buzzed. Disciple, the 4 layers of inscriptions are opened. The void flames are pure. Muxue leaped and hammered. The starburst golden light was 5 times thicker. The nano-ash powder simulated the rotten mist and backfired, and the wing armor exploded continuously, and the blue mist healed itself and instantly wrapped around the hammer body to lock the demonic veins and string through the 9 palaces. But Lu Ting's black shadow rushed to the top of the castle, and the evil sword gathered blood and the demon god regenerated and twisted and roared. Saint! The demon king's eternal night gate is opened. The 3 elders offer the city. The nobles join me to destroy your hegemony. He waved his blood halberd and thunder devoured the fragments, and the demon flames burned the air. The castle master screamed and retreated tremblingly. Lu Ting escapes from prison and is possessed by demons. The evil god's army is in danger. Baron hammered the magic lock and exploded with blood on the wolf's head. The strong man's arm was shattered and he was covered in blood. He yelled, "My benefactor!" The demon general leads the formation, and the black wing burns the fortress. Muxue's red eyes burst into flames, and the psychological battle between heaven and man destroyed the formation with a single hammer. The Void Flame's endurance is limited, sacrificing the team in exchange for victory? No. Engineering Brain Flash, High Voltage Overload Diversion plus Dragon Flame Auxiliary Explosion. She hit the ground with her divine hammer, widening the star veins, expanded the void screen to cover the entire castle, locked the demon general's eyebrows with a hot pursuing crystal array, and sprayed the corrosive mist from the nano-coating back to bite the 1,000 wings and exploded in a rain of grey. The demon general's black-robed giant roared, his rotten claws slashed through the sky and the fishy wind hit his face, his flame-winged armor burned with blue mist, her panting blood wrist guards buzzed to block the flow of blood, and she hammered down the veins of the stars, locked her soul, and exploded her arm bones in a shattering blood mist. Lu Ting's evil sword pierced her back with thunder. She turned around and extended her whip dagger 3 times to chase after her eyes and throat. Her blood was regenerated intermittently but she yelled back, "Impossible, the 4th level of the Emperor's inscription? The demon is immortal." The craftsman glared and rubbed his head, kneeling in tears and crying. The holy goddess hammered the demon general. The army collapsed, thousands of wings were ashes. The tribal chief's beast fangs fell off, and the iron cavalry roared together and swung their axes to cleanse the remaining wolves, iron-armored living beast. The saint predicted that the tribe worshipped. Luo Li Fengying merged and shot dragon fire arrows through the bottom of the crack. The ancient temple door burst into the sky with golden light, and the sweet aroma of ancient fire filled her nostrils. Her green eyes ecstatically handed over the fragment of the divine code, Muxue, ancient forging. Fusion of the Emperor's inscription, eternal night purification infinite. Muxue grabbed the scroll in her mind and the galaxy exploded again, the divine code's nanometer spiritual veins plus the void forever moved, the trade fortress ascended the gold wall pulsating, and the convoy of magic crystals rumbled back to the tower with a load of 20,000 tons. The fireworks of the pagoda celebration soared into the sky, and the golden cup of Chuchian was saluted in the air. Fairy, the trade volume has increased 100 times. Crystals from Wang Juling's mines are pouring out, the elf shadows are seen from a distance, the green light is softening, and the economic connections between the two worlds are beginning to connect. 300 people from the Ballon Alliance knelt down and roared, "War between the benefactors." The foundation of the blacksmith empire. Shen Mo's purple staff trembled with laughter. "Disciple, the bloody battle saint responds, all the ancient scrolls are verified." But the dark wind in the night tent came again, and the royal capital sent a bloody message. The 3 elders of the nobles planned a coup, sealed the tower and cut off the charter. The cavalry surrounded the palace and the rotten odor was rising. The needles in Muxue's eyes flashed, the hammer hummed suppressively. On the road to dominance, the nobles were about to behead. The blood in the night tent flickered like a broken throat pulse, putrid stench sprang out from the communication magic crystal, a pungent wave mixed with rust, blood, and sulfur-burned corpses. The candle flame twisted into a dancing ghost, and the iron bell on the tower wall buzzed like a heart spasm. Muxue's divine hammer pressed against the jade case, the star veins were suppressed and buzzing, the blue mist thunder chain armor pulsed hotly and burned her chest, the needles in her eyes were like swords piercing blood, and the engineering drawings were tumbling in her mind. The nobles joined forces with the 3 elders to make a coup. The tower was sealed and the charter was cut off, the cavalry surrounded the palace and the shadows of decay loomed. The trade fortress was defeated in blood the night before, and 20,000 tons of magic crystals were returned to the tower. The hegemony was first connected, but the nobles of the royal capital counterattacked like poisonous snakes. Luo Li's green eyes were deathly grey, and the green threads of Feng Ying's wrist guards were trembling. She put the broken dragon flame sniper bow on her knees, and her thermal imaging crystal eyes dimmed. Muxue, the third elder of the palace guards, obeyed orders. Lothar blood-sworn patrol shadow locked the palace outside, and the elves' arrows can't penetrate. Sneak in? The rotten door opened, the evil god transformed into a noble, the saint died. The voice it shattered like the remains of silk in the wind. There was a sound of Baron's heavy hammer hitting the ground outside the tent. The sweat and blood of the 300 strong men of the Blacksmith Alliance mixed with iron juice dripped on the rocks. His throat rolled with thunder and shattered. Benefactor. The golden wall of the palace has magic patterns. The nobles joined forces with Lu Ting's remnant party to summon rotten beasts with blood symbols. The king's throne is pooled with blood? The tower is sealed. The furnace is broken and the mines are broken. The foundation of the empire has collapsed. The blood spots on Chuqian's golden robe spread, and the black crystal intelligence network flashed intermittently. He tapped the box with his fingers as cold as a snake. Fairy, the three elders presented the city's Yongya Gate, the royal capital's business line backfired, the nobles' cavalry 10,000 seals the road to the tower, the tribal chief judged. The palace maid was bribed, but the evidence of the assassin's murder was exposed, and the palace was burned with rotting flames. Shen Mo Zijing. The 9 palace-locked souls on the head of the staff were suppressed and burst with purple light. The white hair was spread out and ghosts danced. His staff knocked on the jade steps and projected the bloody light of the ancient scroll. Disciple, the prophecy continues, the bloody battle in the palace, the holy goddess hammers away the noble rot. But the third elder is possessed by the evil god, the thunder, and blood-eating halberd has infinite regeneration, the king's spiritual veins are cut off. Retreat? Hegemony Grey. The entire tent was dead silent, wax tears congealed with blood ticked like a bell, and Mu Zu's heart was pricked with blood. Lu Ting escaped from prison and retreated despite being possessed by the demon, but he still refused to die, and the remnants of the party and the nobles were cut off from the franchise. The prototype of a trade empire, the armored convoy rumbled to victory on a bloody road, but the palace was corrupted, and the devil infiltrated the royal capital. The veins burst out from her fists, the pulses of the hammer handle hummed in response to the heat waves, and the psychological balance tilted. Retreat to the defense tower? The nobles blocked the mines, Chuqian's golden veins were cut off, and the alliance was forged in vain. Attack the palace? Rotten flames burn the soul, Luo Li's wind shadow dies, Shen Mo's bloody battle at the end of the ancient scroll is re-examined. Past life engineering brain flashes, missile overload principle plus void flames permanently moving, nuclear demon blasts to purify the core. Sacrifice to break the situation, she stood up with a low roar, and the divine hammer raised stars and exploded with golden light, sweeping the curtain and dominating Lei Seng. Master, remote 9 palaces barrier locks the void screen outside the palace. Strengthen the recording magic crystal evidence, project the collusion of noble rot in the palace. Luo Li, Feng Ying sneaks into the palace, Longyang locks the soul to snipe the elder shadow. Chu Qian, the palace maid opens a secret passage and buys cavalry to lurk at the palace gate. Baron, the alliance's 300 disguised caravans, the wheel furnace blasts the dagger and embeds it with nanometer ash. Tonight, sneak into the palace and kill the nobles. The sound was like a river of stars pouring down, the hammering jade case, the star pulse lock demon buzzing, and the air was sweet and smelly. Shen Mo glared and his white hair stood on end, the purple stick crazily pointed at the center of his eyebrows and the purple electricity burned his brain. Mu Zu groaned and her vision exploded, the fragments of the divine code were melted into the 4-layered emperor's inscription, and the ancient nanometer spiritual veins plus high-pressure missile advancement were unlocked. The Craftsman's Guild rubbed its head against the wall of the projection tower and stepped back. The hand hammer hit the ground and clanged hot. Master and apprentice nuclear explosion inscription? Missile flame push forever. The sea of stars in the saint's brain, the palace collapsed. Baron burst into tears and the heavy hammer hit his chest. 300 strong men roared and knelt down with sweat and blood, my benefactor's iron blood. The fake caravan rumbled, and the explosive dagger locked your throat. Luo Li's green eyes burned, the dragon pattern on the bow rekindled, and the wind shadows flashed 10 green threads outside the tent. Humming, Muxue, eternal bond. Sneak into the palace thousands of miles to lock the soul and kill the elder. Chuqian smiled and the golden box flashed with thunder crystals, fairy, secret. The palace maid's old debt is cleared, a secret passage is opened, 500 iron cavalry sneak into the palace gate. The night wind outside the tower turned wild, the red flames of the furnace roared and licked the iron wall, the heat wave mixed with the sweet and electric smell of the molten ore juice, the 5-hour mad forging, the blasting dagger was embedded with nanometer ash powder, the high-pressure pneumatic whip blade was extended 10 times to eat the rotten blood. In the middle of the night, the thick rotten fog roared into the hidden palace, and Muxue rode on the horizontal saddle of the shadow god hammer. The blue fog of the thunder chain armor increased infinitely. The convoy of fake merchants rumbled into the royal capital. In response to the trembling sounds of the palace maids, Chuqian opened the secret passage and the stone door crackled. The fishy wind hit his face and the smell of rust and blood was strong. Holy girl! The third elder offered sacrifices to the mine city. The bottom of the Yongya gate was opened, and the king's throne was locked. The black shadow of the second elder, the dragon flame sniper bow was fully drawn and the air pressure was buzzing, the 1,000-mile soul-locking green arrow pierced the eyebrows, and the rotten blood mist was soaring into the sky. The hot and pungent blood mist reached the sky, and her afterimage merged with a low roar. Muxue, in the east wing of the hall, the third elder's blood-gathering talisman summoned the evil god incarnation. Muxue's heart was relaxed, but suddenly her pulse collapsed. The palace bell rang intermittently, the golden walls spread black like ink, the nobles' cavalry surrounded the palace with 10,000 roars, and their claws and claws sprayed out with fishy heat, the black shadows of Lu Ting's remnants moved across the jade throne, the evil sword gathered blood and twisted and roared, Holy girl! The devil Yongyi is here in person, and the 3 elders transform into the earth-destroying hammer. The palace craftsmen screamed and retreated trembling, Lu Ting's demon party. The evil god is noble and rotten, the king's blood is dry. Baron's counterfeit merchant exploded, the strong man's arm was shattered and he was bleeding. Muxue's eyes exploded with red flames, the leaping hammer raised stars and the golden light was 10 times stronger, the nano-ash powder sprayed out the rotten mist and backfired, eating the wing armor and exploded continuously, and the blue mist healed itself and instantly wrapped around the hammer body to lock the 9 palaces of the demonic veins. But the third elder evil god appeared in the form of a roaring giant shadow, his black robes and rotten claws slashed through the air and the fishy wind hit her face like a mountain of corpses. The flame wings burned her armor and the blue mist sneered. She gasped for blood and the wrist guards diverted and buzzed to block it. The hammer fell from the star veins and locked the soul, and her arm bones shattered and blood mist sprayed into the sky. Lu Ting's evil sword pierced her back with thunder and blood gathering. She turned back and extended the whip blade 10 times, chasing her eyes and throat. She regenerated her blood and shouted back intermittently, Emperor's nuclear explosion? Impossible. Demon god eternal night? The palace guard stared and rubbed his head and knelt down with blood and tears. The holy goddess hammers the evil transformation. The noble rot collapses, the cavalry is ashes. The beasts of the palace maids in Chuqian trembled, and the 500 cavalry roared in unison and swung their axes to cleanse the rot, iron-armored saint. The prophecy is fulfilled, the palace worships. The king's throne gasped with blood, the rot-locked spiritual veins sneered, and the three elders' incarnations laughed wildly and covered the palace with black wings. Saint Daughter, the dream of trade monopoly is broken. The gate of eternal night is opened, the kingdom sacrifices demons. Muxue's psychological war between heaven and man, destroy the incarnation with a single hammer? The void flame's endurance is limited, sacrificing the palace guards in exchange for victory? No. The ultimate trump card of engineering brain flash, the principle of Shendianrang missile, high-pressure overload gunpowder deflagration propulsion plus nanometer spiritual pulse permanent nuclear explosion. She hit the ground with her divine hammer and opened up the star veins. The 5 layers of the void screen expanded to cover the entire palace. The heat-seeking crystal array lock transformed into the center of the eyebrows. The nano-coating sprayed out the corrosive mist and counterattacked WANYKA's explosion. And the gray rain poured down like black snow. Master, remote diversion from the 9 palaces. Shen Mo Pagoda's projection of purple light bursts into the head of the staff. Purple electricity burns in the air. Hiss, sweet fire, and smelly nose. Muxue's wrist diversion ring buzzes red and hot due to overload. The divine hammer star inscription rotates at high speed. High-frequency oscillation magic lock array 9 palaces flash. Spiritual veins adapt with the assistance of the melting dragon flames. The void flames are compressed into a core in 4 layers. Nuclear demonic explosion. The hammer rises like a missile being launched. The tail of the blue-gold flame pushes forward and tears into the air. The high-pressure pneumatic rotation deflagrates the gunpowder to simulate the magic veins, and the nano-ash powder coating counterattacks the rotten core, hitting the incarnation's chest and pulling. The hall trembled, cracks in the golden wall exploded like spider webs. The nuclear demon exploded and the golden blue flame ball expanded 10 feet. The void flames permanently purified the rotten blood and evaporated. The heat wave mixed with the sweet smell of fire and electricity, and the ashes of the corpse burned the nose. The giant shadow in black robes roared and twisted. The rotten claws shattered and the blood mist turned to ashes. Thousands of flame wings exploded like black rain. The roar of the spiritual veins collapsed and shattered thunder. Demon King. RAO. The heartbreaking golden light shot into the sky, and the armor at the bottom of the Yongya Gate Palace flew into ashes. The noble cavalry knelt down with blood and tears and shouted, "The Saint Nuclear Blast purged the evil god." The 3rd elder turned to ashes, and the kingdom was reborn. The palace guard's eyes widened and his throat rolled and trembled, and the palace maiden's teeth dropped and she wiped her tears. Missile God Hammer? Emperor's Revolution, the palace, the Holy Land collapsed. The king's throne's spiritual veins revived, his blood-dry eyes were bright, and his golden robe stood upright. His staff pointed at Muxue and his voice was as loud as thunder, "Sacred craftsman saint. The trade monopoly is permanently granted, and the blacksmith empire is established as a royal capital. The 2 worlds are connected, and the hegemony is boundless." Baron knelt down and hit the ground with a heavy hammer, and the 300 alliance of fake merchants shouted, "The Marquis. The iron blood of the Lord. The foundation of the Lunluo Empire, the bloody battle will always follow." Luo Li Fengying merged with the tearful flames of the green eyes, and bowed with the dragon flame, "Muxue, the eternal bond." The nuclear explosion locks the soul, and the elf blood swears to soften. Jin Xiang smiled with the golden cup in the sky, "Fairy Marquis, the trade volume is 1,000 times. The spiritual mineral crystals are pouring into the capital, and a new vein of forest enchantment is opened." Fireworks soared into the sky throughout the palace, the bells rang and thundered, the heat wave was sweet and fragrant, the stinking mixed blood ash hit the nostrils, Muxue's hammer buzzed and closed, the blue mist of the thunder chain armor pulsed flawlessly, the domineering flames in her eyes turned to needles, the coup was completed, the Marquisess was granted the title, and the embryonic form of the empire was established. Suddenly, there was a bloody explosion from the border. Roaring like beasts collapsing from the sky, black clouds pressed against the barrier and the green light suppressed the pulse. The Demon King appeared in person. The Eternal Night Army's cavalry of demon wolves pressed down on the border. The South Fissure sent wolf smoke into the sky and spewed fishy heat. Saint Nuclear Explosion? Demon King's personal army, decisive battle at the forest barrier. Both worlds are stained with blood. Shen Mo's purple light trembled on the wall of the projection tower, and the ancient scroll was full of blood and light. The final chapter, Disciple, the end of the Demon King's trial. The revolution of the hammer, breaking the eternal night. Muxue held the hammer handle in his fist and the stars were burning, and his psychological ambition was like a volcano erupting. On the road to dominance, the Demon King is about to behead. The embers of the fireworks in the palace hall solidified like blood and tears, the sound of the iron bells buzzed and echoed in the golden dome on the roof of the palace, the heatwave mixed with the sweet stink of fire and electricity and the ashes of burned corpses smoked the nose. The king's jade staff trembled and the golden robes were wet with blood spots, and his throat rolled like thunder and roared. The Marquis. The southern rift was full of smoke, black clouds pressed against the barrier, and the green light pulsed intermittently. The Demon King's army of hundreds of millions of cavalry demon wolves roared. The eternal night rot gate was half open, and the spiritual mineral veins were broken. The palace guards knelt down with blood and tears and collapsed, and the jade bricks were shattered as they knelt with iron armor. Staring with grey eyes outside the palace, the night fog roaring like thousands of beasts devouring the sky, the maids in the palace trembled and hugged their knees in response to the beast's tooth crown falling off. The saint's nuclear explosion wiped out the palace, but the devil came in person. The trade between the two worlds was ashes, and the blacksmith empire was dead. Baron hit him with a heavy hammer. There was a sound in the chest, and the strong men of the 300 blacksmith alliance sneered at the blood mixed with iron juice dripping from the stone, and the thunder cracked in their throats and roared, "Benefactor!" The border scout broke the news. The black-winged demon general led his army to swallow the southern mineral vein. The king's wheel furnace broke the crystal, and the road to hegemony was stained with blood. Luo. The green eyes of the glass disappeared. The green silk of the wind shadow wrist guard trembled like silk broken by the residual wind. The thermal image of the dragon flame sniper bow resting on the knee was dim. She punched her knee and blood spurted out. Muxue. The green light of the elf forest enchantment suppressed the veins, and the demon wolf swallowed the scout billion's shadow. Loza's blood-sworn patrol shadow will not return. The rotten door is open, and the evil gods and demons will regenerate infinitely. The blood spots on Chuqian's golden robe solidified, and the black crystal information network flickered like a residual vein. He tapped the box with his finger coldly. Fairy Marquis, Nan, the gate of the eternal night of the rift is half opened, the Demon King's shadow appears and the cavalry roars, the tribal chief's cavalry is wiped out, and the military resources are cut off. Retreating to the royal capital? The aristocrat's decay is revived and the dream of the laughing saint is shattered. The purple light projected by Shen Mo pagoda is trembling, and the bloody light of the ancient scroll is distorted like a ghost crying. His white hair spread out and his staff struck the void. Disciple, prophecy of the final chapter, the end of the Demon King's trial, the hammer of God breaks the eternal night. But the upper demon general's black wings devour the soul, the heart of the evil god pulses for eternity, the alliance of billions against billions, the sea of blood swallows the barrier. The whole hall was dead silent, wax tears and blood were ticking like a broken heart. Muxue's divine hammer hummed and retracted its handle, the blue mist of the thunder chain armor pulsed hotly and burned her chest, the needles in her eyes pricked blood. The coup resulted in the title of Marquise. The prototype of the empire was established as a royal capital, but the Demon King's troops pressed into the territory, and the southern rift roared and collapsed. The psychological balance is tilted. Retreat to the guard tower? The wheel furnace is cut off, the gold veins of Chuqian are grey, and the alliance has been forged in vain. Assault on the barrier? The black-winged demon general is reborn, Luo Li's wind shadow dies, Shen Mo's bloody battle at the end of the ancient scroll is re-examined. Previous life engineering brain flashes, mass production line automation plus missile cluster firepower, nuclear magic explosions purify the demonic domain in batches. Sacrifice the scout to break the situation, she stood up with a low roar, and the divine hammer raised the stars and exploded with golden light to sweep the palace. Lei Beng said, "Master, the defense formation of the 9 palaces empire is carved all over the royal capital, and the void screen is locked with 10 layers of green light. Luo Li, lead the Fengying scout team to detect the Demon King's lair, and the Dragon Flame Lock Soul thermal image sweeps away the black wings. Chu Qian, the trade convoy is converted to military use, 200 armored vehicles are fully loaded with explosive magic weapons, bombing the demon army forward. Baron, the alliance is forging in 300 rounds, mass-producing thousands of A-level Imperial inscription nuclear blast daggers embedded in nanometer ash. King, the Jade brand is transferred to the palace cavalry, and the remaining tribe chiefs attack the southern rift. Tonight, gather the coalition forces to personally explore the demon realm and cut off the Demon King's head." The sound was like a river of stars pouring down, the hammer fell on the Jade Palace, the star pulse locked demon buzzed, the air was sweet and fragrant, and the smell of rottenness filled the nostrils, and the palace fire rekindled the golden blue flame ball. The king glared, his jade staff stood upright, his golden robe trembled wildly, his brows were in sharp pain, and the metal lightning burned his brain. He rubbed his forehead and retreated, and the staff fell with a clanking sound. Marquis Imperial formation? Mass production of nuclear missiles. The holy goddess hammer revolution, the blood of the royal capital is reborn. Baron burst into tears and the heavy hammer hit the ground with a sound, and 300 strong men roared and knelt down with blood and sweat, benefactor's iron blood. The wheel furnace is forged 1,000 times, and the A-level emperor's inscription dagger is embedded with nano-grey locks and explodes. Luo Li's green eyes burned, the dragon pattern on the bow was rekindled, and 20 flashes of wind shadows flashed outside the palace. The green silk buzzed, Muxue, the bond of eternal life. The scouts locked souls thousands of miles away to destroy the demon general's shadows. Chu Qian smiled at the gold box. Thunder crystals flashed, and gold cups shattered on the ground, Marquis's secret. The armored convoy rumbled to the army, and the blasting magic soldiers were loaded with demonic forwards. The palace guards roared and their armors vibrated, and the palace maids wiped their tears with their beast teeth and knelt down, the Holy Maiden Alliance. The bloody battle in the South Rift, the establishment of the trade empire. The night wind outside the tower whirled wildly, and the furnace the red flames roared and licked the iron wall, the heatwave mixed with the sweet and electric smell of the spirit or molten juice, the 5,000 wheel furnaces in the royal capital opened wildly, the high-pressure pneumatic automation line rotated, the nano-ash powder sprayed tens of thousands of A-level nuclear explosion daggers, the star inscriptions were engraved at high speed and buzzed, the missile simulated gunpowder. Detonation and advanced with adaptive spiritual vein melting dragon flame assistance. The thick rotten roar of the dawn fog shakes the sky, Muxue rides on the cross saddle of the shadow god hammer, the blue fog of the thunder chain armor increases infinitely, the counterattack wrist guide buzzes, she leads the iron cavalry Wanlong Longnan into the rift, the psychological game burns, the black-winged demon general of the demon realm, the upper evil god possesses infinite regeneration, sacrifices Luo Li to exchange for a nuclear explosion. The Luo Li Fengying scout team flashed the barrier with green light to suppress the pulsation, and the thermal imaging crystal eyes locked the black hole of the Demon King's lair. The green eyes roared and sent the magic crystal Shishi, Muxue, the eternal night door of the lair is fully opened, the heart of the evil god with 3 black wings of the superior demon pulsates, and the demon wolf swallows the mineral veins billions of times. Chu Qian's armored fleet of 200 dragons after the surge, the dagger box full of magic weapons thundered and buzzed, and the military resources and spiritual mineral crystals were piled up with golden light. Marquis, forward the demon army with 100,000 cavalry, bomb the way. King Shen Mo projected purple light into the imperial formation. 9 palaces locked spirits and 10 layers of void screens expanded the barrier and hummed the power grid, sweet fire, and smelly locked demon veins. Balon's 300 alliances danced with heavy hammers, and the camouflaged military formation exploded with daggers embedded in grey powder. The cavalry roared, the Marquis is iron-blooded. The divine soldiers of the Wheel Furnace Empire, destroy the Black Wings. The fishy wind of the demonic realm within the barrier blows against the face like a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. The rotting mist mixed with sulfur and burning corpses billows with stench. Black clouds press the green light veins, and the smoke from the southern fissure rises into the sky, which is hot and pungent. Muxue's hammer exploded with golden light that was 20 times thicker. The nano-ash powder sprayed out the rotten mist to bite back the demon wolves and exploded continuously. The blue mist healed itself and instantly wrapped around the hammer body to lock the 9 palaces of the demonic veins. The 3-headed black-winged giant shadow of the upper demon general roared, and the rotten claws slashed through the air and sprayed out fishy heat like all beasts collapsing. The flame wings burned the armor with blue mist. She gasped for blood, and the wrist guards diverted and buzzed to block it. She hammered down the veins of the stars and locked the soul, exploding her arm bones and shattering the blood mist spraying into the sky. The demon general roared, twisting and regenerating blood, and the chest of the evil god's heart pulsated with red and black light. The holy maiden is nuking the child. The demon king is coming in person forever, with 3 infinite soul-devouring heads, and the dream of trade is shattered and stained with blood. The cavalry coalition stared and retreated with trembling throats. The demon general has ascended to the upper level. The Black Wings are reborn, and the palace is full of evil. The saint is dead. Luo Li's lingering shadow, soul-locking green arrows, exploded into the sky with rotting blood and mist. She roared with flaming green eyes, Muxue, the weakness of her heart is like a lock. Dragon flame 9 palaces assist. However, the devil's claws backfired and broke the green silk string. Luo Li's blood-spurting reflection groaned, eternal bond, retreat. Muxue's red eyes exploded with flames, and her mind was at war with heaven and man. Destroy 3 heads with a single hammer? The void flame's endurance is limited, sacrificing the coalition forces in exchange for victory? No. Engineering brain flash trump card upgrade. Shendianrang missile cluster, high-pressure overload gunpowder deflagration propulsion plus nanometer spiritual pulse perpetual nuclear demon explosion. She hit the ground with her divine hammer to open up the star veins. The 5th layer of the void screen expanded to cover the whole demonic realm. The heat-seeking crystal array locked the 3 eyebrows. The nano-coating sprayed the corrosive mist back to bite the 10,000 wings, and the grey rain poured down like black snow. Master, the long-distance diversion of the 9 palaces is 10,000 times greater. Shen Mo projected purple light into the head of the staff and exploded. The purple light burned into the sky. The sweet smell of fire hit the nostrils. The diversion ring of Muxue's wrist guard buzzed red and hot due to overload. The divine hammer star inscriptions rotated at high speed. The high-frequency oscillation magic lock array 9 palaces flashed, and the spiritual veins adaptively melted the dragon assisted by fire. 5 layers of void flames were compressed into a core, nuclear demon explosion cluster. The hammer was like thousands of missiles. The blue-gold flame tail pushed forward and ripped into the air. The high-pressure pneumatic rotation detonated the gunpowder to simulate the magic veins. The nano-ash powder coating counterattacked the rotten core, and hit the chest of the 3 heads with a loud crackle. The demon realm trembles, black cloud cracks explode like spider webs, the nuclear demon explodes and the golden blue flame ball expands hundreds of feet. The void flames permanently purify the rotten blood and evaporate, the heat wave mixes the sweet smell of fire and electricity and the corpse ash burns the nose. The three-headed black-winged giant shadow roars and twists. The rotten claws shatter and the blood mist turns to ashes. The flame's thousands of wings exploded like a downpour of black rain. The evil god's heart pulsated with red and black light, roared and shattered into thunder. Demon King, Rao, Di Ming nuclear explosion, impossible. The heart exploded with golden light soaring into the sky. The demon realm of Yongyemen flew into ashes, and the demon wolf knelt down with blood and tears and roared. The saint nuclear explosion, the demon general is reduced to ashes, and the southern rift is reborn. The coalition cavalry's eyes widened with trembling blood, and Baron knelt down with a heavy hammer. The Marquis's hammer destroyed the heart of the evil god. The Empire's blood is victorious. Luo Li Fengyin healed himself with tears in his eyes, and the dragon Flamebow knelt to donate his blood. Muxue, locked the soul with nuclear explosion, three-headed death. Eternal fetters are soft. Chuqian's armored convoy blasted together, blasting the magic weapon's daggers with thousands of nanoscale ash sprays. The demon army's forward kara exploded continuously, and roared and sprayed hot ash. Marquis military trade. Destroy hundreds of millions of armies, restore the spiritual mineral veins. Muxue picked up the heart of the evil god with its red and black residual veins buzzing and hot, and the star hammer melted into ashes, and the sixth level of the emperor's inscription flickered, but suddenly a black shadow appeared in the fog. The blood of Lu Ting's evil sword was twisted, and he knelt in a pool of blood. The noble robe was shattered and blood spurted out. The flames of hatred in his eyes turned to despair and regret, and his voice rolled in his throat like the wind. Saint, the devil allows me to return. Qiu, the three-headed demon general possessed by Yong Yi, but he nuked the Emperor Ming Revolution, and the throat whip blade nanoash backfired and killed his soul. Spare your life, the deputy is loyal. The Lu family's remaining minds are dedicated to the Empire. The cavalry coalition stared and rubbed their heads and shouted, Lu Ting's demon party surrendered? The evil sword ash, the saint's influence? Mu Zu's eyes were piercing, and the psychological game was burning. Kill? Noble rot is eradicated. Receive? The trade pulse is strong. She raised her eyebrows with the magic hammer and whispered, if you drop it, you will be iron-blooded. If you carry it, it will be a nuclear explosion. Lu Ting burst into tears and kowtowed with blood. Marquis Lord. The Lu family has thousands of furnaces, and the deputy is forged wildly. Baron's heavy hammer clicked close and stared. My benefactor transformed a mortal enemy? The Empire is strong. The king projected a golden glow and smiled tremblingly. The Marquise's divine heart. Lu Ting's assistant craftsman, the trade will be doubled. The iron armor of the trading convoy rumbled and the demon vanguard flew away. Chuqian's golden robe laughed and thundered. Marquis, the military resources are fully loaded with divine weapons. The demon army is retreating and roaring to death. Shen Mo's purple staff was wildly pointed. Disciple, the heart of the evil god has melted into the sixth level, and the divine hammer breaks the eternal night. The whole army. Fireworks soared into the sky, the bells rang and thundered, the heat wave was sweet and fragrant, the smelly electric odor mixed with blood ash hit the nostrils. Muxue's hammer hummed and closed, the blue mist of the thunder chain armor pulsed flawlessly, the domineering flames in her eyes turned to needles. The demon realm was clean, the top fell, Lu Ting was demoted as deputy, and the imperial coalition was established. But suddenly the deep black cloud exploded in the barrier. The demon king came in person and roared like the sky collapsed. The eternal night gate was fully opened, the rotting flames shot up into the sky, the fishy heat burned its nose, the ultimate evil beast spread its wings with thousands of black scales, the soul-eating red eyes locked on Mu Zu pulsed and buzzed. The saint is nuclear blasting the child. Alone. The decisive battle, the blood-stained night of the two worlds. The coalition forces roared to death. the devil's ultimate summons. The evil beast is infinite, the Marquis is dead. Muxue held the hammer handle in her fist and the star veins burned. Her psychological ambition volcano erupted. On the road to dominance, the devil is about to behead. The rotten mist of the demonic realm boils like thousands of corpses. The smelly waves of hot sulfur are billowing into the nostrils. The black clouds are overwhelming. The green light veins are intermittent. The door of the eternal night is fully opened. The ultimate evil beast has thousands of feet of black scale wings. The soul-eating red eyes are pulsing and buzzing to lock on Muxue. The tongue of rotting flames is licking the hot armor-burning blue mist. The cavalry coalition's eyes were wide open with thunder rolling down their throats. Their armors were knelt down with blood and sweat spurting out. Baron's heavy hammer hit the ground with rubble flying and roaring. The Demon King's ultimate summons. Evil beasts are infinitely regenerated. How can the 6th level of the Marquis's hammer kill thousands of feet of black scales to devour souls? The afterimage of Luo Li Feng's green silk threads trembled. The dragon flame bowstring was broken and rekindled. Her green eyes were grey and her fist hit her knee with bloodshot eyes. Muxue, the bond of eternal life is broken. The blood oath of the elf is annihilated in the demonic realm. Chuqian's armored motorcade rumbled to a sudden stop. His gold robe was wet with sweat and stained with blood, and he tapped the box with his cold fingers and made a cold sound. Hu Juqian's secret. Tens of thousands of nanometer ash can't be blasted through the eternal night gate. Lu Ting knelt down in a pool of blood. The evil sword turned into ashes, and his veins buzzed. His eyes turned to despair and he cried, "Holy girl! The Demon King is here in person, and the assistant craftsman Lu Jialuan's furnace is flying away." Shen Mo Wangju. The projected purple light trembled like a broken candle. The bloody light of the ancient scroll distorted and ghosts cried. His white hair was scattered and his staff struck the void and shattered. Disciple, prophecy of the final chapter of the Demon King's trial. The ultimate evil beast and evil god's lineage, the 6-layer imperial inscription nuclear explosion cluster endurance limit. Retreat from the royal capital? The empire is dead in a sea of blood. The whole army was dead silent, their heartbeats were like wax tears, the heat wave mixed with the rotten corpses, the sweet fire and the smell of fire burned their noses, the evil beasts roared and the sky collapsed, the red eyes and flaming tail swept away the sky and rain of rotten blood poured down, the cavalry forward's 1,000 armors melted and evaporated, and the miserable roar echoed like thousands of beasts devouring souls and shattering thunder. Muxue held the handle of the star god hammer in her fist and burned the hot thorn palm. The blue mist of the thunder chain armor pulsed and buzzed with overload. The diversion ring of the counterattack wrist guard expanded with red heat. The needles in her eyes were bleeding and the psychological balance was tilted. Destroy 1,000 feet with a single hammer? The void flame's endurance is limited. Sacrifice hundreds of millions of coalition forces in exchange for victory? No. Engineering brain flash trump card upgrade. The complete fusion of ancient forging divine code fragments plus modern plug-in welding high-pressure alloy plus nanometer spiritual pulse perpetual missile cluster, refining the two-realm sky hammer to tear the barrier and call for reinforcements. She roared and hit the ground with her divine hammer, widening the star veins. The 9 palaces soul-locking formation expanded the demonic domain and covered the entire buzzing grid. She hotly chased crystals to lock the red eyes of the evil beast. Residual veins. Baron, the Alliance's 300 heavy hammers suppressed the formation. The sound was like a river pouring down and hammering down the Jade Palace. The Starvein Lock Demon buzzed with electricity. The sweet smell of fire mixed with the rotten smell filled the nostrils. The red flames of the divine furnace roared and licked the iron wall. The heat wave mixed with the sweet smell of the molten mineral juice. The 5,000 projections of the royal capitals will furnace opened wildly, and the high-voltage pneumatic automation line whirled. The coalition's eyes widened, throats rolled, trembling, and they knelt down with blood. The king's projected golden light trembled wildly, his brows trembled, and his forehead burned with lightning. He rubbed his forehead and retreated. The Marquise's sky hammer? Fusion of divine code plugins, tearing apart the barrier to call for reinforcements? Revolution of the saint, rebirth of the royal capital's bloodline. Baron burst into tears and the heavy hammer hit his chest, and 300 strong men roared together. Sweat and blood mixed with iron juice dripping from the stone. My dear benefactor, iron blood. The alliance wheel furnace suppresses the formation, and the divine hammer rises to the two heavens. Luo Li's green eyes burned with flames, wiping the bow and dragon pattern, and rekindled hiss, and the afterimage of the wind and shadow 20 flashes of green silk buzzed and soul-locking arrows rained down from the 9 palaces. Assistant, Muxue, the eternal bond to the sky. The heat is like a crystal lock. The evil beast's red eyes have weak pulse. Chu Qian smiled as the golden box flashed with thunderous crystals, and the gold cup shattered into pieces in the spiritual mine, the Marquis magic. The trade of military resources turned into a divine furnace, and the crystals melted 1,000 times and the nanometers moved forever. Lu Ting crawled out of a pool of blood and presented the evil sword with grey veins. His eyes turned to despair and he kowtowed with blood spurting. Master. The evil god's heart of the remaining minds of the Lu family is fully concentrated, and the assistant craftsman is madly forging the sky hammer. Shen Mo's purple staff blasts the purple light, and the head of the staff is filled with sweet fire and odor, and the remote 9 palaces direct the void flames to compress the core. Disciple, the 6th level of the divine code is fully unlocked. High-frequency oscillation adaptive spiritual veins melting dragon flames, tearing the enchantment into eternal night. The flame ball of the divine furnace rotates for hundreds of feet, intertwined with gold, blue, red and purple. The heat wave is like the sun exploding, sweet fire, electricity, stinking mixed with sulfur and rotten ash. The bloody light projected on the fragment of the divine code is twisted and buzzing at high speed. The ancient inscription locks the 9 palaces of the devil and flashes. Times inserted into the heart of the furnace, nanoash powder sprayed with high-pressure alloy stretches 10 times, gunpowder deflagration promotes simulated magic vein self-circulation, modern electric welding technology melts the red and black residual veins of the evil god's heart, and the 10-layer void screen is embedded with heat-chasing crystal soul-locking dragon flames to assist. The red eyes of the evil beast locked onto the roaring flame furnace and scoffed. Thousands of scaly wings poured down the black rain to stab the armor. The coalition cavalry retreated and roared. The evil beast is being eaten by the heavenly hammer. The saint dies in the furnace. However, the star veins in the heart of the furnace exploded, and the two-realm sky hammer was formed. The blue-gold thunder pattern on the hammer body pulsed infinitely, and the handle was embedded with two-realm tearing crystal cores that buzzed hotly. The 7-fold invisible flash of the Emperor's eternal nuclear magic exploded in a cluster, and the barrier summoned the firepower of modern technology missiles. Mu Zhu held the handle and hammered up to tear into the air. The blue mist infinitely amplified the wrist guide and the overload buzzed. The nuclear demon exploded the sky curtain. The hammer fell like a missile with billions of flame tails propelling the Kai tearing away the rotting mist. The high-pressure overload of the void flames directly hit the evil beast's chest with a loud cracking sound, and the black scales shattered and blood the mist turned to ashes and evaporated, and the red eyes and veins cut off and roared to shattering thunder. Demon King. R.A.O. The Hammer of Two Worlds. Impossible. The heart-exploding golden blue flame ball expanded thousands of feet. The eternal night gate sealed the ashes and flew into the rotten roar intermittently, and the demonic black cloud cracked the cobwebs and exploded, purifying, and sweet fire fragrance hit your nostrils. The allied cavalry glared, rubbed their brains and throats, knelt down with blood and sweat, and roared. The Marquis's heavenly hammer destroys the ultimate evil beast. The 7th level of the Emperor's inscription tears apart the eternal night, and the demon king himself comes to perish. Baron knelt down with the heavy hammer and burst into tears with a click, the god of benevolence. The heavenly hammer of two worlds revolution, the blacksmith empire will stand forever. Luo Li Fengying's self-healing green eyes and tears of flames worshipped and bowed to the dragon flame. Muxue, the eternal hammer is bound to softness. The elf forest passage is opened, and trade is dawning. Chuqian's golden robe burst into laughter and thundered, and the gold box, the heaps of crystal stones shone and rumbled as the armored convoy pressed forward. The Marquis's army has won the trade. The divine soldiers are fully loaded to destroy the remaining demons, and the spiritual mineral veins have been restored 1,000 times. Lu Ting kowtowed to his head and turned to ashes in a pool of blood. The evil veins buzzed out, and he yelled feverishly in his eyes, "Master inspires the sky hammer." Lu Ting, the family is loyal to thousands of people, and the assistant craftsman is madly forging the empire. Shen Mo projected a stable purple light, and the golden light predicted by the ancient scroll was fully realized. His white hair was scattered and he tapped his staff with a trembling smile. "Disciple, the divine hammer breaks the trial of eternal night." The sevenfold imperial inscription, "Peace between the two worlds." The aftermath of the demonic realm is calm, the rotten fog gradually disperses, the green light veins revive and buzz, the heat wave turns to cool breeze, and the sweet fragrance of the spiritual mines is assailed, and the wolf smoke in the southern fissure extinguishes the grey rain and pours down to wash away the blood. Muxue withdrew the two realms, the handle of the heavenly hammer buzzed with heat, the blue mist of the thunder chain armor pulsed with no time to heal itself, the domineering flames in her eyes turned to the gentle needle light and she scanned the coalition forces. The ultimate evil beast fell, the gate of eternal night was sealed, the demon king's clone turned grey. The iron cavalry stood up and their armors vibrated and roared in worship. The palace maiden's projection beast-toothed crown wiped her tears and knelt down. The holy maiden's heavenly hammer purifies the demonic realm. The Marquis Empire, two worlds of trade are established. She whispered, "Luo Li, Fengying scouts are opening the forest passage to detect the new veins of elves. Chuqian, 200 armored convoys are fully loaded with A-class emperors inscribed nuclear explosive daggers, and they are rumbling through the knot. World trade." Lu Ting, the assistant craftsman, leads the Lu family to make thousands of furnaces, and the east wing of the royal capital tower is stationed in the mad forging of the sky hammer. Baron, the blacksmith alliance suppresses the southern veins by 300, and the spar of the soul mine expands 1,000 times. The void screen locks the green light of the royal capital forever. The soft sound of the hammer hits the jade sign and the golden light sweeps the palace and converges. Luo Li wiped the blood with her green eyes and knelt down. The green silk of the wind shadow wristband buzzed and repeated, and the dragon flame sniper bow donated blood as hot as a crystal flash. Muxue, channel information lock. The elf archer patrols the shadow, and the trade convoy is protected by green light. The afterimage of her wind shadow is deep in the 20 flash barrier, and the green light pulses steadily, shishi, sweet and fragrant. Chuqian smiled, his gold robe shook with blood spots, and the gold box intelligence network restarted and flashed. Marquis, military resources are transferred to trade, 200 trucks of thundering crystals from the spiritual mines are rumbling. The remnants of the tribal chiefs have joined together, and the hegemony of the two worlds has doubled. The armored fleet roared and transformed, the tires grinned against the dust and the rotten ground rattled, the fully loaded magic weapon box thundered and buzzed, and the military escort roared. The trading empire rumbles. A new vein opens in the southern rift. Lu Ting climbed up from his aristocratic robe and smashed the dried blood. The heavy hammer of iron-blooded allegiance in his eyes clicked. "Master, the conspiracy of the Lu family has been wiped out. The deputy craftsman has turned to thousands of sacrifice towers. The 7-weight inscription of the heavenly hammer will destroy the roots of noble rot." Balon's 300-strong men danced with the heavy hammers of dried sweat and blood, pretending to be an army formation, and turned to mine pickaxes. Shen Mo projected a gentle purple light, the ancient scroll closed and the bloody light disappeared, and he tapped the void with his staff. Disciple, the prophecy has been fully verified, the bloody battle in the palace will destroy the noble rot, the devil's trial will end with the hammer breaking through the eternal night. The Craftsman's Guild will all worship, the E-level craftsman card will be promoted to the god level, and the king of the blacksmith empire will be established. The king projected a golden robe and a clean jade staff and smiled tremblingly. The queen. The Ju Jade brand is forever licensed, and trade monopolizes both worlds. The blacksmith in the east wing of the tower, Lu Ting's assistant craftsman Balong Tong. The red flames of the furnace outside the royal capital tower are steadily licking the iron wall, the heat wave is mixed with the sweet smell of the spirit mine, the high-pressure pneumatic line rotates the nano-ash spray A-class dagger, the star inscriptions are buzzing at high speed, and the trade fleet projection is rumbling and the green light channel is opening. Muxue rides a shadow to patrol the remaining ashes of the demon realm, the handles of the two realms' heavenly hammers pulsate to call for reinforcements in the crystal core's shimmer, modern technology missile firepower is ready to launch, her psychological ambitions are calm and gushing, the demon realm is pure, the superior falls, Lu Ting descends, and the Empire's alliance trade is running. The new vein information of the elf forest is Luo Li, the Chuqian golden vein is 1,000-fold, Shen Mo's magical skills are personally transmitted, and the dawn of peace between the two worlds is dawning. But suddenly, the deep black clouds exploded at Yongya Gate, and the giant shadow of the Demon King loomed, with red eyes and soul-devouring buzzing sound. The black hole of destruction slowly opened and the rotten whirlpool pulled at the green light veins. The roar of rottenness was as low as the sky collapsing, little child of the holy maiden's sky hammer. I am here alone, and the black hole is stained with blood in both worlds. Eternal destruction. Yuchihu, the coalition army, stared back and said, the Demon King himself. Destroy the black hole, the Marquise's empire is ashes. The needles in Muxue's eyes burned again, and the domineering ambition volcano erupted again. Trade dominance, the Demon King himself is about to behead. The remaining ashes of the demon realm are rolling like blood mist, the veins of green light at dawn are chirping and intermittent, the black hole vortex slowly expands 100 feet, the rotten whirlpool pulls and twists the armor of the cavalry, the hot and sulphurous smell is soul-eating, the red light burns the nose and stings the brain, the Demon King's giant shadow spreads across the sky, the red eyes pulsate and buzz to lock on Muxue, thousands of tongues of rotten flames lick the air and evaporate the remaining mist, the roar echoes with thunder and thunder, the St. Child's sky hammer plays the role of an orphan. I destroy the black hole and swallow up the two worlds, and the sea of spirit ore and blood is destroyed forever. The cavalry alliance's eyes were filled with ice, and blood spurted out from the knees, and they knelt down and retreated. Baron smashed his chest with the heavy hammer and burst into tears, shouting, the Demon King himself. The black hole pulls the magic weapon into ashes. What can the 7th level of the Marquis Sky Hammer do? Luo Li's shadow flashed back from the deep explosion of the barrier. Her green eyes were dead. A grey fist hit his knee. The green silk broke and blood spurted out. Muxue, the eternal bond fell into a black hole. The passage of the elf forest was shattered, and the dawn of trade was grey. Chuqian's armored convoy rumbled to a sudden stop, and his golden robe was wet with blood and sweaty fingers. He knocked on the box in a cold voice, the Marquis's ultimate plan? The black hole swallowed up the military crystal stone pile, and thousands of nanometer weapons were evaporated. Lu Ting knelt down in a pool of blood, and the evil veins were extinguished, and the enthusiasm in his eyes turned to despair and he kowtowed. Mixed with blood and tears, Master. Lu family's allegiance has fallen. The Demon King himself, the deputy craftsman Lun Furnace, is stained with thousands of blood. The purple light projected by King Shen Mo trembled like a candle, the blood light of the ancient scroll was distorted, ghosts howled, his white hair was scattered, his staff struck the void and exploded. Disciple, the end of the prophecy. The demon king himself is destructive, the black hole is endlessly devouring, and the 7-layer imperial inscription nuclear explosion has the endurance limit? Withdraw from the capital, and the empire dies in the Black Sea. The whole army was dead silent, heart pulses were ticking intermittently, the rotten whirlpool in the black hole pulled the heat wave, the sweet scent of spiritual minerals turned to putrid electricity, burning the nose, the red-eye flame tail swept away the sky, and the rain of rotten blood poured down thousands of feet. The cavalry forward's armor melted into flesh and blood and evaporated, and the pitiful roar of thousands of beasts devouring souls and shattering thunder shook the ears. Muxue fisted the 2 heavenly hammer handles, and the star veins were burning hot and bone-piercing. The blue mist of the thunder chain armor pulsed and buzzed with overload. The red heat of the counterattack wrist guide ring expanded tenfold. The needles in her eyes pierced blood and the psychological scale tilted wildly. Destroy this deity with a single hammer? The black hole is infinitely durable, sacrificing hundreds of millions of coalition forces in exchange for victory? No. The ultimate trump card of the engineering brain flash. Full fusion of divine code plus nanometer spiritual pulse permanent missile cluster with 10,000 shots plus modern nuclear fusion simulated star power plus high voltage electric welding alloy to tear the black hole core plus heat chasing crystal lock demon king's red eye weakness vein plus Luo Li Longyang, Jiugong auxiliary plus Chuqian military resources to cut off the back road fire blockade. She roared that the sky hammer hit the ground and the star veins exploded. The 9 palaces locking spirit array expanded the black hole and covered the buzzing power grid. Master, remotely guide the star core and gather it 10,000 times. Luo Li, the dragon is as hot as the lock's red eyes. The weak point is the rain of arrows from the 9 palaces. Chuqian, the armored convoy's military crystals pile up to cut off the back of the black hole, and the nano-gray missile blasts the seal. Lu Ting, atonement to block the deadly flames of the devil, assistant craftsmen's wheel the remains of the furnace are poured into the sky hammer. Baron, 300 heavy hammers suppress the formation eye convoy. The sound is like the collapse of the galaxy and the falling of the star vein lock of the Jade Palace. The air is filled with sweet smell of fire mixed with rancid sulfur. The roar of the divine furnace is licking the iron wall. The heat wave is mixed with the sweet smell of the molten mineral ore. The 5,000-wheel furnaces of the royal capital are running wildly. The high-voltage pneumatic automation line is spraying with buzzing nanometers. The coalition's eyes widened, throats rolled, trembling, and they knelt down with blood and sweat. The king's golden light trembled wildly, his brows burned, his brain burned, his forehead rubbed, and he retreated and roared, "The Marquise is refining the star hammer?" The nuclear fusion of the divine code, the black hole reversed to call for reinforcements? The saint's revolution, the royal capital's blood is immortal. Baron burst into tears and smashed the heavy hammer on the ground, causing rubble to fly, and 300 strong men gathered together. Roaring sweat and blood mixed with iron juice and dripping stones, my benefactor, iron blood. The Alliance's heavy hammer suppresses the formation, and the divine hammer rises to the stars to destroy this deity. Luo Li's green eyes burned with flames, wiping the bow and dragon patterns, and rekindled his. 30 flashes of wind shadows, green threads burst, soul-locking arrows rained down from the 9 palaces, auxiliary heat, like crystal locks, red eyes, and weak pulse. Muxue, the eternal bond to refine the star. Dragon flames sniping at the core of the black hole from thousands of miles away. Chuqian smiled as the gold box thundered and crystals flashed, and the gold cups shattered on the ground. The mines rumbling with armored vehicles pressed forward, the Marquis's magic plan. The military resources cut off the retreat, and the nanomissile cluster blasted into the black hole whirlpool. Lu Ting's aristocratic robes were smashed to pieces in a pool of blood, and the iron-blooded hammer in his eyes clicked and roared. Master! The Lu family atones to block the demonic flames, and the assistant craftsman's remaining minds are fully charged with the stars and sky hammer. Shen Mo's purple staff explodes with purple light and frantically injects the head of the staff with a sweet smell of fire, and the long-range 9 palaces guide the void flames to compress the star core. Disciple, the 7th level of the divine code unlocks the limit. High-frequency oscillation adaptive spiritual vein fusion dragon flames, reverse the destruction of the black hole. The flame ball spinning in the heart of the heavenly hammer furnace is intertwined with thousands of gold, blue, red and purple stars. The heat wave is like a star exploding, sweet fire, electricity, stinking mixed with sulfur and rotten ash. The fragments of the sacred scrolls are projected with blood and light rotating at high speed. The ancient inscription locks the demon 9 palaces with exploding starlight. The snowy heavenly hammer rises and stars explode. The golden light is 50 times thicker and inserted into the heart of the furnace, nanometers. Grey powder sprayed high-pressure alloy is 20 times longer. Gunpowder deflagration promotes simulated magic vein self-circulation nuclear fusion. Modern electric welding technology melts the residual veins of the evil god's heart plus Lugia Lun furnace residual ore. 20 layers of void screens are embedded with heat-seeking crystal-locking Soul Dragon Flame Auxiliary plus Chuchian Nano Missile Cluster preload. The Demon King's red eyes locked on the roaring flames of the incinerator, his black scale wings poured down with thousands of black rains, stabbing thousands of layers of armor. The coalition's cavalry roared and retreated. I am being swallowed by the starry sky. The saint is swallowed by the black hole of the furnace. However, the star veins in the heart of the furnace exploded, and the stars the Chenqian hammer is sublimated. The blue-gold thunder pattern on the hammer body pulses infinitely. The handle is embedded with a black hole and the reverse crystal core buzzes hotly to pierce the soul. The Emperor's 8-level invisible flash and eternally moving nuclear magic explosion clusters of 100,000 rounds. The power of the stars. The high-pressure overload missile firepower tears and destroys. Mu Zhu held the handle of the hammer and tore it into the air. The blue mist infinitely amplified wrist guard overloaded and buzzed. Star nuclear explosion against the black hole. The hammer fell like a missile. The trillions of flame tails propelled the Kai tearing rot whirlpool. The void flame high-pressure star directly hit the Demon King's chest. The core of the red eye made a loud crackling sound. The black scales shattered and the blood mist star evaporated. The red eye pulse broke and the roar shattered the thunder and the sky collapsed. RAO, star hammer, traveling through other worlds, impossible. 50 flashes of the afterimage of Luo Li's wind shadow exploded. The dragon flame sniper bowstring was broken and rekindled Kai 1,000 miles soul locking. The heat like crystal inlaid with eye veins and weak green silk arrows rained down from the 9 palaces to assist and penetrated directly through the weak spot of the Demon King's red eyes, causing bursts of blood. Muxue, dragon flame soul locking. The eternal bond arrow pierced the core. The flame tail of the arrow tail pushed forward the air pressure dragon flame Kai and the rotten blood steamed, and the Demon King's giant shadow trembled and the black wings broke. Chuchian's armored convoy of 200 vehicles rumbled forward, and the golden box nanomissile cluster thundered into the black hole's back road. The pile of spiritual mineral crystals exploded and high-pressure flames pushed to seal the rotten whirlpool. Marquis, cut off the back road. Military nano-firepower, trade hegemony black hole ashes. The tires of the convoy grinned against the ash and rotted ground, and the magic weapon box opened with thunder and buzzing missiles pouring flame tails. Lu Ting roared his atonement and jumped into the air. The deputy craftsman's hammer of the remaining ore of the wheel furnace was used to hit the demonic flames with deadly rotten tongue. The noble robe burned with flesh and blood and evaporated to protect Muxue, master. The Lu family atones and blocks the attack. The sky hammer and stars win. The rotten flames burned the body and turned into ashes and roared. Shen Mo projected purple light and exploded with the purple staff. The ancient scroll predicted that the golden light would completely seal the remaining soul. Disciple, the soul of the demon king is sealed with the emperor's inscription of the 9 palaces. The divine skill is personally passed down, and the 2 realms are forever solidified. Purple light locks the soul, twists the blood light, and cries intermittently. The black hole reverses and the star flame ball expands thousands of feet. The golden and blue starlight spider web bursts and purifies the sweet fire fragrance, and the giant shadow of the demon king collapses with a burst of red eyes and extinguishes the ash. The black hole vortex seals the ash and flies away and roars for eternity. The demonic realm is completely clean, the veins of green light are revived and buzzing steadily, the heat wave turns to cool breeze, and the sweet and fragrant nectar of the spiritual minerals hits the nose. The smoke of the south rift extinguishes the grey rain and washes away the blood to become the Jade Palace. The allied cavalry stared, rubbed their brains and throats, knelt down with blood and sweat, and roared to the sky, "The Marquis and the stars and heaven hammer will destroy the demon king himself." The 8th level of the emperor's inscription reverses the black hole, destroying the peace of the 2 realms forever. There was a click of Baron's heavy hammer, and the 300 strong men burst into tears and shouted, "God of benevolence refining." The blacksmith empire is established, and the revolution of the stars will last forever. Luo Li Fengying's self-healing green eyes and tearful flames bowed in worship and presented the dragon flame bow. The green silk buzzed, Muxue, the eternal bonds of the stars. The passage of the elf forest will be opened forever, and the green light veins of trade will be multiplied 1,000 times. Chuqian's golden robe laughed wildly. Thunder roared, and the gold box and crystal stone piled up and the armored car rumbled. The Marquis's army has won the trade. The divine soldiers and stars are loaded with ashes, and the spiritual ore veins have regained their supremacy 10,000 times. The projection of Lu Ting's ashes and remaining soul kowtowed enthusiastically, Master's conversion and atonement. The Lu family's furnace thousands of allegiance to the empire, the assistant craftsman's stars are mass-produced. Shen Mo projected a gentle and steady purple light, and the ancient scroll closed with golden light for eternity. His white hair was scattered and he tapped his staff with a trembling smile. "Disciple, the prophecy of the final outcome has been fully realized. The demon king himself has died, and the 8th-level emperor's inscription brings peace to the 2 worlds." Muxue collected the stars, the handle of the sky hammer hummed with hot residual heat pulsating, the blue mist of the thunder chain armor healed itself flawlessly, the deflection ring of the counterattack wrist guard was cooling and humming, the domineering flames in her eyes turned to the gentle needle light as she scanned the coalition forces, the devil king himself died, the black hole reversed and sealed, and the destruction flew away. The cavalry stood up and their armor vibrated and roared like thunder. The king projected his golden robe and jade staff and swept the palace with an upright smile and a trembling golden light, guardian of the saint. The Marquise's jade plaque is forever licensed, and trade monopoly in both worlds. The east wing of the blacksmith empire's royal capital tower is open. Lu Ting and Balong are in charge, and Master Shen Mo is sitting. Suppress. The palace maid's projection beast tooth crown wiped her tears and knelt down. The divine craftsman saintess purifies the demonic realm. The forging empire spans the enchantment, and the spiritual mineral crystals will prosper for thousands of years. Muxue whispered the stars, hammered the jade plaque, and the golden light opened the enchantment and the green light channel buzzed steadily. Luo Li, the wind and shadow are eternal. Patrolling the new veins of the elf forest, green silk locks trade green light. Chuqian, 500 armored vehicles are loaded with 100,000 Star Emperor's divine soldiers, rumbling through the barrier to establish dominance. Lu Ting's remnant soul is restored, the assistant craftsman leads the Lu family's furnace, and the east wing of the royal capital tower is furiously forging the star sky hammer to mass-produce it. Transform the line. Baron, the blacksmith alliance suppresses the mineral veins all over the territory, and the spiritual minerals are 10,000 times sweeter and more stinky. Master, the Nine Palaces Empire Defense Formation expands the two realms, and the void screen locks the green light veins forever. The soft and domineering voice converges, and the stars are raised to call for technological firepower. Luo Li's green eye flames softly wiped the blood and knelt down. The green silk of the wind shadow wristband buzzed with the polystrings of the dragon flame bow, and the blood pulse was as hot as the crystal flashing forever. Muxue, the channel information is forever locked. The elf archers patrol the shadows of thousands of roads, and the trade convoys are escorted by green light and prosperous. The afterimage of her wind shadow is deep in the barrier, and the green light pulsates steadily. The sweet smell of nectar is fragrant and a new vein opens. Chuqian smiled, his gold robe shook to dryness, and the gold box intelligence network restarted and flashed with thunder. Marquis, the trade of military resources is booming. 500 trucks of thundering crystals from the spiritual mines are rumbling, and the tribal chiefs are all united. The hegemony of the two worlds has doubled. The armored fleet roared and transformed, the tires grinned against the jade ground, and the armor box full of stars thundered and buzzed, and the military escort roared to the sky. The forging empire is rumbling. The new veins of the southern rift are opening up trade. Thousands of strong men in Ballon danced with sweat and heavy hammers, the mining picks jingled, and the molten juice of the spirit ore sprayed out sweet and smelly. Benefactor. The alliance restored the mines all over the territory, the wheel furnace opened the high-voltage wires wildly, and the nanostar daggers were embedded with 100,000 daggers. Shen Mo projected purple light. Gentle, the ancient scroll predicts that the golden light will shine forever. He tapped the void with his staff and smiled steadily. Disciple, the grand finale is magical. Through the revolution of the saint, the palace demon king is completely cleansed. The craftsman's guild worships the god, and the blacksmith empire is established in two realms. The red flames of the furnace fire outside the royal capital tower are steadily licking the iron wall for thousands of feet. The heat wave is mixed with the sweet nectar of the spirit mine. The high-pressure pneumatic line rotates nanometer gray spray, and the Star Emperor inscription dagger is 100,000. The star inscription is engraved at high speed with a buzzing gold and blue flash, and the trade fleet projection rumbles, and the barrier green light channel is always open. Muxue rides a shadow to patrol the afterglow of the two realms. The handle of the starry sky hammer pulses with eternal warmth. The blue mist of the thunder chain armor pulses infinitely. Her psychological ambition calmly bursts into the dawn, crossing the forest barrier, unexpectedly arriving at the forging conference, integrating engineering magic to sweep Lu Ting, winning the championship and opening trade, purifying the noble rot, breaking the demon king's trial, and destroying the black hole of the original. Luo Li's bond, Chuqian's golden veins, Shen Mo's divine biography, Ballon's iron blood, Lu Ting's redemption of allegiance, and the empire's alliance trade has been running for thousands of years. The dawn of peace between the two worlds has dawned, and the spiritual mineral crystals are as prosperous as the stars. She turned her eyes and whispered softly to Qianmai, the dream of engineering in the past life, the forging saint in this life, protect the two worlds forever, and the trade empire is immortal. However, the new veins of the deep elven forest shimmered in the enchantment, and Luo Li Fengying responded with a trembling green eye. Muxue, the ancient elf ruins are pulsing, the ancient sacred mine is summoned? Muxue smiled with needles, and Qianmai's star veins burned slightly. New adventure, dominance again. The whole army roared to worship Xinqian, the green light channel rumbled and trade opened forever, and the glorious dawn of the forging empire shone across both worlds. The elder scepter knelt down and proclaimed, Muxue, win. The title of the divine craftsman. Lu Ting knelt bloody and was locked by the blacksmith, with a distorted face and spit out hatred, "The devil will not forgive you." The king's golden crown came in person, and the scepter's star glow personally sealed Muxue's jade plaque, "Saint Goddess Craftsman, glory forever." World Trade License, 2 realms open. The mountains screamed, and the incense from the stove was filled with the sweet fragrance of stars. Luo Li held Muxue's hand with green tears. "Bond, God." Shen Mo smiled with white hair. The prophecy came true. Chu Qian narrowed his eyes and handed over his hand. "Fairy, hegemony."